spinel, and then it's sort of a ruby to purple color, translucent crystals of painite. Yeah.
It's spinel family.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. But that, I think I have that boxed up now. I'd have to dig that one out.
Oh, that's all right. I was just curious. I was reading about it the other day by coincidence and thought I'd ask you.
It is unusual. No doubt there's a lot of it in Tucson right now because the gem show's going on. So all the dealers are there now. Who I'm sure have better pieces of it.
What is so special about it? What is so special about this?
It is gemmy and of a pretty color, so it looks like sort of gem crystals, but it's very, very rare. So there's a small amount of it, and there's some people who are mineral collectors who are so nuts that they want everything that comes up as a new specimen from a new good locality they want a piece of, so that drives the price up on some things.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. Gary, did you want to share your screen and
Yep, we're just going to have
show
to
the
wait.
world your comment there?
I will do. Let me just give you. Okay. Hopefully that's sharing. Just going to have to wait a minute or so for the image to come in. I've just moved it and reset it back on nearer center. Let's remove that. So we've got, as I said, quite a bright moon out tonight. So we're not necessarily going to see a lot of the tail. It's more going to be the nucleus that we can see. And I've got it set up on the wide system at the moment, just because the close-up system is getting washed out a bit too much earlier. But we have got another system running on it on the other side just to try out. But I can't share that screen over easier. I might try and log that computer in a bit later. Like that, and then we can just have a look on there. But
so this is Comet E3, is that right?
Yep, that's it. It's been quite good fun tracking this, really. Passing some quite nice objects and that. So I've set it up for 2-minute images just to give us a bit more detail in it. It's always the problem. Whenever it's clear the moon's out or it gets foggy or something occurs, there's something to get in our way. I'm seeing some nice images coming from other parts of the world where the moon's not so bright. And it seems really interesting to look at.
Absolutely. We've been getting some really nice shots from people around the world with their refractors and such.
There we go.
Oh wow, pretty.
2-minute shot.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see kind of the dust tail and.
I can make it out, but the moon is just sort of washing out. It's a blue. Even adjusting it up, it's not really making a lot of difference. But in the raw images, you can bring out a little bit of the tail, but not as much as what we have been. So probably by the weekend, I would say, if we give it 5 more days, something like that, then the moon will be getting up later and we'll be able to still get onto the comet early because it's quite high. So literally as soon as it's dark, we can get onto it. And that's what I quite like with this comet, is it being up high. That really is the thing. But I think it will share this. That was from last night, so you can see there the stars are removed. So this will turn out the same system. And the stars will be put back in, so we can see it faintly there, but it's not going to come out massively for a few more days yet. But
were you able to see the second comet as well? It was close by the 2020.
On this system, in a little while, I'm going to try and move it down, and it should be just wide enough to pick up in the top area of the screen. But I will have to have a look around and see what I can play with. It's on a 65mm, but it's an f7 telescope, so I could do with something a little bit wider probably to get the second comet in, but it might just creep in the top there.
It's also moving at a different speed, which I know was causing a lot of issues to people when they were trying to process both together.
Yeah, most of the images that I've seen have been more single shots of the two together rather than a combination over a course of time. So, but yeah, I think it's very similar to the comet over the last, well, a few of the comets over the last couple of years. It's generated a lot of interest. And bright comets do, and they bring a lot of amateur people out, people who've never imaged before, and they're bringing out a camera and a lens or a phone or whatever it is and trying to get an image. So comets always create a really good interest, certainly when they're bright. And I just think they're not only are they beautiful objects to look at, they're a challenge. Every single comet is a challenge to try and capture and to try and work out, and then it will have all of the other objects in the background, which are really nice to go off and capture with it as it sails across the sky. But yeah, that's about it for what we can actually get on it tonight. It's not going to get any better than that. No more amount of time is going to bring anything out, because all it's going to do is bring more background in from the moon, really. So, but that's it. So I'm going to pass
I
back
think
over.
it was gorgeous. Yeah.
Back over to you. At least we've got it anyway for a change.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So how much longer will you try to image it tonight?
I'll run an hour on it, and even if we don't get a nice tail on it, we'll get a plot across the sky. I'll have a look on a couple of the charts in a minute and see whether it's going to run near in anything.
Great.
And maybe the other system, we'll see if we can bring that on later.
And it's close. How far away is the other comet from this one?
I can't remember without looking. I've got to go into the other chart system, but I did see it plotted up earlier today on a post on Facebook, I think. So it's not overly far away. I just think this system might be a bit zoomed in to bring it in.
Well, very good. Very good. Okay, so if you're watching right now, or you just tuned in, this is the 113th Global Star Party. Gary Palmer in the UK was sharing live views of Comet E3, and actually I thought it looked great. So the sky looked like this kind of indigo kind of blue color, but really I think that it looks spectacular, and you can see a good tail with it, dust tail at least. So we will, I guess, officially get started with Global Star Party, and we've got a good show for you today, with David Levy. Alan Dyer did send us a special message today regarding a tribute to Terence Dickinson, who passed away February 1st. Chuck Allen from the Astronomical League is with us. David Eicher, editor-in-chief of Astronomy magazine, with more of Dave's exotic deep sky objects. Professor Karim Jaffer and from John Abbott College and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Montreal Center is back with us. Russell Fralich, also of the Royal Astronomical Society, but I think he's in New Zealand now. Is that right? So, yeah.
Just visiting out there. He's still
he's
back.
visiting. Oh,
Yeah.
we may not ever get him back. I hear people love New Zealand. So, Cesar Brollo will be coming on. Daniel Barth. He's got a new project called the Eratosthenes project, which he'll describe. Marcelo Souza will join us as well. Adrian Bradley and John Schwartz and his astronomical art. So we will get started here in just a moment.
The late crew will come through as usual.
That's right.
By the way, Gary, beautiful image. David, beautiful lecture last night at one of my clubs. I'm looking at this through an iPhone. so I don't see everyone. Yes, it was. It moved a lot of the audience that was
Thank you, Adrian.
there.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Wallace watching on Facebook says, great pictures. Here in Ohio, I still haven't gotten a chance to see the comet due to many cloudy nights. That was also true here in Arkansas. You know, we had a lot of cloudy weather. But anyways, we get to see it here on Global Star Party.
Yeah. Thank you for those beautiful images.
What are the signs of spring? They are as familiar as a blooming daffodil, a songbird at dawn, a surprising shaft of warmth from the afternoon sun. And oh yes, don't forget the meteors. Spring is fireball season, says Bill Cook of NASA's Meteoroid Environment Office. For reasons we don't fully understand, the rate of bright meteors climbs during the weeks around the vernal equinox. In other seasons, a person willing to watch the sky from dusk to dawn could expect to see around 10 random or sporadic fireballs. A fireball is a meteor brighter than the planet Venus. Earth is bombarded by them as our planet plows through the flotsam and jetsam of space. For example, fragments of broken asteroids and decaying comets that litter the inner solar system. In spring, fireballs are more abundant. Their nightly rate mysteriously climbs 10 to 30%. We've known about this phenomenon for more than 30 years, says Cook. It's not only fireballs that are affected. Meteorite falls, space rocks that actually hit the ground, are more common in spring as well. Meteor expert Peter Brown of the University of Western Ontario notes that some researchers think there might be an intrinsic variation in the meteoroid population along Earth's orbit, with a peak in big fireball-producing debris around spring and early summer. We probably won't know the answer until we learn more about their orbits. To solve this and other puzzles, Cook is setting up a network of smart meteor cameras around the country to photograph fireballs and automatically triangulate their orbits. Networked observations of spring fireballs could ultimately reveal their origin. It might take a few years to collect enough data, he cautions. Until then, it's a beautiful mystery. Go out and enjoy the night sky. It is spring after all.
Hello everyone, this is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific and the Explore Alliance, and you are watching the 113th Global Star Party with the theme of falling stars. I do want to give a shout out to the Lackawanna Astronomical Society. I am virtually giving a talk there tonight as well, so but if some of you are tuning in from that group, welcome. And we have, as I mentioned earlier, a great lineup of speakers here. And we will get started with, I think we've all become great friends and closer friends because of our weekly exploits here in Global Star Party. And I think you're going to enjoy this series of talks. There is a sad point, though. We did lose a titan in astronomy education, and that was Terence Dickinson of Sky News Magazine and of the world famous Night Watch book, which is really one of the world's largest selling astronomy books, written in the 80s. And so anyhow, let's go ahead and turn this over to David. David, you've got the stage, and thanks for coming on for another Global Star Party.
Thank you very, very much, Scott. And it's good to see you. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Karim, David Eicher, all of my friends, it's really wonderful to be able to see you tonight. I'm going to give a number of very brief quotations tonight because of the theme of falling stars. And the first one, of course, comes from John Milton at the very beginning of Paradise Lost. "In the almighty power, hurled headlong flaming from the ethereal sky," a reference to a very bright fireball. We go now to Harry Como in 1957. "Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket, save it for a rainy day." I firmly believe that Perry was right when writing that song, because I think you can catch a falling star and put it in, and then save it for a rainy day. But he's not the only one who advised that. Another person was John Donne, and he wrote, "Go and catch a falling star. Get with child a mandrake root. Tell me where all past years are, or what's the devil's foot. Teach me who to hear mermaids singing, or to keep off envy's stinging, and find what wind serves to advance an honest mind." And the final quote will be from Cervantes himself, from Don Quixote. "With this, the night darkened, and lights and more lights began to flit above the wood, much as the gaseous exhalations of the earth flit about the sky and looked to us like shooting stars." And on that notice, back to you, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. That was great. Wonderful, wonderful.
David, where is Minerva?
Minerva is outside. Minerva is outside right now because I'm really starting to use her more often. And instead, what we have is Alouette. And the first Alouette I had when I was at Westmount High School, had it in my briefcase, and I take it out at recess time and do my sun observation with it. But then this version of Alouette I got from Edmund Scientific when I was at Acadia in 1970. I remember Roy Bishop and I playing around with it. This is the current Alouette. And so I thought I'd display that now as a replacement for Minerva, who is now outside waiting to see the night sky.
That's great. So I wonder how many people, I'm sure almost everybody here in our group tonight owns some meteorites and loves to look at them. But I'm curious from the audience, how many people are meteorite collectors or have at least one meteorite. If you have something that if you have a meteorite that you like, maybe you can comment on it and we can read those comments. But
One meteorite I can show you. I've shown this to you.
yeah, let's see it, man.
This is my wedding ring, and it is it's one I still wear it, and I'm still trying to be careful with it. And it is a Gibeon, and it's the third one because I lost the first one. It's somewhere in the house. The second one just fell apart, and this is the third one that Frank Lopez put together for me, and I've had it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just wanted to share it with you.
What a handy guy Frank Lopez is of Stellar Vision. So
It really is.
there in Tucson. That's
We
great.
built my observatory.
Ah, and he does that a lot.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
All right. Well, for right now, we're going to go to Alan Dyer, who was kind enough to record something for us. He was not sure if he could make it tonight, and he may show up later, but we'll bring him on now with his thoughts on Terence Dickinson.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight on the sad occasion, and it's been a sad week, on the passing of my good friend, dear friend, and astronomy colleague, Terence Dickinson. A day we knew was coming because he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's a number of years ago, back in 2015, in fact, I think, and he knew it would take a toll, and so we knew the day was coming, and that came February 1st. A sad day in Canada because he was certainly best known, Terence Dickinson, for his astronomy popularization across the country and, of course, around the world and in the United States. But particularly here in Canada, through his use of almost every medium at his disposal, books, of course, he's best known for A Lasting Legacy, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But magazines, and I'll mention that legacy as well, but also radio. He was a regular on our CBC network, radio network science show, Quarks and Quarks, which even as I record this, is broadcasting its show today, celebrating 30 years of its host, Bob McDonald's tenure with the Quarks and Quarks radio show. But Terry was a regular. He was their go-to guy for many years whenever there was an astronomy story that needed covering. He was also a regular here in Canada on our Discovery Channel back when it was in its heyday with a nightly science program. And again, he was their go-to guy for regular astronomy stories on television. But it was books, perhaps, that he is best known for. In particular, probably best known to viewers tonight for the book Night Watch, which this year celebrates its 40th anniversary being in print on the market. And we're hearing from, of course, all kinds of people in the last few days on Terry's passing, people saying that book got them into the hobby and really started their passion and their interest. And that was Terry's talent. He just portrayed the wonder of the universe and the wonder and the magic of looking up. Yeah, he explained the facts and the figures in ways people can understand, but he just portrayed that sense of wonder. You wanted to get out there and experience that for yourself as well, because he portrayed it so well in writing, but also in person, in talks and lectures. Those were great. And so it's books that he is perhaps best known for. I had the opportunity, well, in the last 40 years, as well. In 1991, it was published. We worked together and published this first edition of the Backyard Astronomer's Guide, and then in the last 2 years, well, it came out in late 2021, that morphed into a fourth edition that we worked on starting in late 2019 and finished off in early 2021, the fourth edition of the book. But my last conversation with Terry, and over the years and decades, we had a lot of phone calls where we would just go on for hours chatting about the state of the hobby and science and whatever. But my last such phone call with Terry, my last conversation with Terry, was in September 2019. The disease was taking its toll, but it was a good day. We had a great conversation. It was like old times. But that was the last time I was able to speak to him. And that was when we were embarking on the project of the Backyard Astronomer's Guide. His wife, Susan, runs a book packaging company, and she was the one really spearheaded the project and put it all together. I was the co-author on it. We brought on Ken Hewitt-White on that version of the book as well to guest write some chapters. But Terry even then knew at the time that I would be shouldering the majority of the work, in that he would not be able to contribute. So in editing and revising the book, of course, I've kept as much of his voice and his contributions as possible. But he knew at that time that I would be taking on most of the work and through the next year and a half. And so that was our COVID project. But Terry was kept appraised of the project through Susan throughout its production process as well. But as I say, the other book that people are most familiar with would be Night Watch, and it's being worked on in a new version as well. And then, other than books, Terry was a master of all kinds of media, and he was Astronomy magazine's very first editor. Here's the first issue of Astronomy, as Dave Eicher will know, came out in August '73. So Astronomy magazine's 50th anniversary is this year. And Terry's in there in the very first issue, writing the Sky Tonight department in the magazine here. And there it is, Sky Almanac, Terence Dickinson. And then it was just the next year that the publisher Stephen Walther brought on Terry as their first full-time editor in '74 and '75. And then in 1995, Terry took over and restarted Sky News magazine. This is our Canadian astronomy magazine, taking it from just a newsletter put out by our National Museum of Science Technology at the time, and turning it into a glossy commercial magazine. The first issue, this is from last year, but the first issue came out in May, I think it was 1995, with a cover story, in fact, by David Levy, I think it was. And he was editor, Terry was editor of Sky News until 2016, when it was turned over to the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, and Gary Saronic as editor, because Terry knew that he had to step down and wanted to relinquish his responsibilities with the magazine back in 2016. So through radio, TV, magazines, books, this is his probably most recent original book, and sort of first time was out, Hubble's Universe, kind of produced in conjunction with Ray Villard at the Space Telescope Science Institute, came out a few years ago. And then again, a popular book that I think first came out in 1989 or something like that, but again, it's gone through many editions, The Universe and Beyond. It's sort of a grand tour of the universe, not a backyard astronomy practical guide like Night Watch, but a grand tour of the majesty of the universe and beyond. So that's the other book that is still in print and people may be familiar with. So he's left a lasting legacy for us, for certain, and it's a shame to lose any great communicator like that of science. We need those people so much these days, and so it's a great sadness that we mourn the loss of Terence Dickinson here in Canada and in the U.S. and around the world as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity to listen to me this evening, and I hope Terry has touched your lives through his works over the years as well, and it's helped you in your growth as amateur astronomers and stargazers. It certainly has me. So thank you very much this evening.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Alan Dyer, for presenting that. I first became aware of Terence Dickinson with that book, Night Watch, back in the early 80s when I started changing the little camera shop I was working into a telescope shop. And really it was one of the best books out there at the time, and just super popular. I sold lots and lots of copies of Night Watch. But I've sold during that time too. I started to become aware of other writers and this whole world of amateur astronomy, which is so wonderful. And certainly Terry made it more wonderful with his presence and all the contributions that he made. So that's wonderful. Our next speaker is Chuck Allen. Chuck was recently on Astronomical League Live, where, God, Chuck, all of Chuck's presentations when he gives them are mind-blowing, and so I knew that he was going to do a talk about the distance scale and the and the furthest known celestial objects, and I thought, well, I've already heard this before. But no, Chuck had more information. So he's excellent in that regard and always providing the best information he can get his hands on. And, the Astronomical League is very fortunate to have him. He has given so much to the organization itself. He's a lawyer by trade, but his passion and his expertise, I'm sure he's a considerable expert in legal affairs, but you're going to be, it's hard to stump Chuck Allen when it comes to astronomy. So Chuck, thanks very much for coming on, and I'm going to give the stage to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. And I've got something to say about you in just a moment. But let's start with the screen share. And we'll go to, okay, slideshow from current slide. We always like to start each of these weekly quiz sections with a warning. The most important part of any telescope is the eye that looks through it, and you need to protect it. Those of you out there who are new to astronomy, there are some mistakes you can make quite innocently, and I know people who've made them, that can cost you your vision. And observing the sun can be done safely. There are people in local astronomy clubs who are experts at it and can give you some guidance there. Just make sure you never observe the sun without professionally made solar filters that affix to the front end of the telescope, where they prevent the energy from entering the telescope. And don't leave telescopes or binoculars unaided, especially during solar observations for the public, because children might try to access the sun using one of those instruments. And if you're using eclipse glasses, bear in mind those are to be used all alone, not use them to look through a telescope at the sun. They're solely for the purpose of looking straight at the sun through the eclipse glasses. They should be certified as well. And just read these warnings, be careful around solar observing. And if you want to start observing the sun, make sure you contact somebody in a local astronomy club who's got some experience with it. It could save you a lot of heartache later on. These are the answers from January 31st. And the first question was, what is the name of the first exoplanet discovered by the James Webb Telescope? And the answer to that was LHS 475b. Question number 2 was, why does the currently visible comet C2022 E3 glow in a green color? And the answer is that ultraviolet radiation from the sun is absorbed by diatomic carbon in the comet's nucleus. That's 2 carbon atoms that are fused together, and that reaction emits green light. And question 3 was, in what year was the Astronomical League's first Horkheimer Award presented? I'll mention something about the Horkheimer Awards in just a second. The answer to that was 1998. The correct answers to those questions, and these names have been added to the door prize list, are Andrew Corkle, Don Knabb, John Williams, Daniel Higgins, Cameron Gillis, and Adrian Bradley. Congratulations to them.
Hooray.
This is the advent of our award season in the Astronomical League, and we have a very robust series of youth awards that we give out. One is the National Young Astronomer Award, which is now in its 31st year. And one of the people most responsible for that success is pictured on the right here. And that would be a fellow by the name of Scott Roberts, who just gave me a glowing introduction. Scott has been there for us, providing telescope prizes and sponsorship of this award, and has made it possible for this award to flourish over this many years. You don't have to be a league member to participate in this, just a high school student attending school in the United States or a US citizen. And the information on this can be found at www.astroleague.org on the awards page. We also have a series of youth service awards that provide large cash prizes. One of them provides an expense-paid trip to our annual national convention, this year being held in Baton Rouge. And if you're a league member and you have youth who help you in your club and public activities, or help at local libraries, anything having to do with astronomy, please nominate them for one of these awards. We also have imaging awards for youth, and we have a journalism award for youth between the ages of 8 and 14. So if you're league members and you have folks who engage in this sort of activity, please nominate them or encourage them to apply for these awards. The deadline for all of these awards is March 31st. And here again is the website where you can find an awards page that will detail eligibility prizes and the applications. So the questions for tonight, here they come. I think they're topical. A full moon shines at magnitude -12. What specific term is used to describe a meteor that reaches at least magnitude -14, that is at least 6 times brighter than a full moon? Okay. Most meteors become visible in what altitude range? I'll leave this up for a few seconds. Is it 5 to 20 miles above the surface, 20 to 50 miles, 50 to 80 miles, 80 to 120 miles, or 120 to 200 miles? I'll leave that up for just a couple more seconds. Okay, and question number 3. What famous American singer wrote a hit song inspired in part by his viewing of the Perseid meteor shower during a family camping trip? And those are the questions for tonight. I would invite all of you to join us for another League Live event this coming Friday evening, just 3 days from now at 7 p.m. This will be presented by, the talk will be given by Professor Karim Jaffer, who's one of our guest speakers here tonight. And he will be speaking on citizen science and an emphasis on young participants. I think you'll really enjoy his talks. They are truly fantastic. And that's it for tonight, and I will stop sharing. And thank you again, Scott, for all you do for the Astronomical League over the years.
Thank you. It's great to be, friends with you guys, and to just, be a part of it. It's kind of like, I'm like one of those hangers on that that just kind of wants to be to glow in the warmth of all you guys, what all you guys do.
Well, you glowed in the warmth of a 3-day virtual convention in 2021 that we could not possibly have done without you, and that kept us before our members and many new people during COVID, and it was invaluable, and we really thank you for that.
Well, you guys have worked really hard to grow your membership and everything, and it is happening. I think you're up over 2,200 members, or 22,000 members. Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's great. That's wonderful. Well, thanks very much, Chuck, for
thank you
participating tonight. Okay. All right. So our next speaker is David Eicher. And David Eicher, he is just, not only does he have all this experience, not only has he been writing about astronomy almost all of his life, but this is a guy who never gets tired of it, okay? And there are, I meet people that can do things for a year, couple of years, maybe 5 years, and then they disappear, okay? And you wonder what happened to them, and maybe then they come back after a few years to a star party or something, and but they just needed a break, and the people that do what Dave Eicher does day in, day out, all the time, and try to do more of it, and try to expand upon what they've already accomplished. Those people are really rare. And Dave does this not only in astronomy, but he does it with his Civil War history. He's an avid collector of minerals and meteorites and all the rest of it. A very, very interesting guy. And he's a musician. And he is one of the guys running one of the biggest astronomy events in the world. So, they're out there celebrating their 50th anniversary, and I think they have a star party going on. So, fancy that. So, David Eicher, I'm going to turn it over to you, man.
Thank you, Scott, so much for having me again. It's always really a pleasure to be with you. And don't believe what Scott says. He's in the center of it all, just as much as any of us is. So it's a pleasure to be hanging out with him. And I'm going to talk about a couple of quick things, if I can, tonight. One of them is another one of these weird objects, because we still haven't made our way through the list of all 434 of them. So I'll share my screen, and I will see if I can start a slideshow. Whoops. I started too quickly there. This is not one of the objects. This is just an illustration, of course, of a quasar, of an active galaxy. But tonight we're working our way sort of from the north celestial pole slightly downward, and don't be intimidated by the amount of text. This is a really interesting object, the Cat's Eye Nebula, we're going to talk about tonight, and it looks exactly like a cat's eye. If you haven't noticed, the people who have named a lot of deep sky objects in the past, over dozens and hundreds of years, there may have been a contributing factor with some of the names for these objects, sleep deprivation. So anyway, it kind of looks like a cat's eye, but maybe not really so much, and you'll see it in a moment here. But it's a really good planetary nebula. It's in Draco. It has a very high surface brightness, so it's pretty easy to see in a moderately dark sky, even with a small telescope. It was discovered, as were many objects, by William Herschel. This one was in 1786. And it's also notable because it was the first planetary nebula whose spectrum was recorded by William Huggins. And so he therefore demonstrated with this object that planetaries are gaseous in their composition. So its overall magnitude is about 8th magnitude. But it really consists of a couple of components. It has a really small bright disk that you can see at fairly high magnification. It's about 20 arc seconds across, and then an outer shell that's much, much larger and fainter that's about 6 arc minutes across. And this corresponds at its distance, which is a little over 3,000 light years, of about 4/10 of a light year in diameter physically. And so it's about 4/10 the size of our solar system. It's a pretty young planetary nebula, maybe about 1,000 years old. So these planetaries show us what the sun will have, what will happen to the sun eventually in our solar system in about 6 billion years or so. Our sun will become a planetary nebula. And these objects, with our theme of falling stars, these enrich the interstellar medium with the material that goes back out into the galaxy and in a couple of different stages. So the faint stuff that was the early material that came off of this object really goes out at a fairly low velocity. It's sort of belched out at the end of the red giant and early planetary nebula phase of a sun-like star, sun-like mass star dying, if you will, running out of its normal lifespan. Then there's a higher velocity component that goes off of the star material, gas and dust, that runs into the slower, older material, and it creates this ionization front and the brighter nebula that we can see that's a smaller object. The cat's eye has a very complex inner structure, as you will see momentarily here. It was a very famous Hubble Space Telescope image for a long, long time. And the mechanism of why the structure is so complex is really not well understood yet. It has to do with magnetic fields and velocities and so on. But we really don't know. So if you get out to a dark sky and you can use relatively high magnification with a moonless night in a dark sky, if this thing is relatively high up in the sky, it's a really good planetary to observe because you can observe it at high magnifications. This, again, I am not affiliated with Ron Stoyan or Germany or the Interstellarum Deep Sky Atlas, but this atlas does have a really good level of detail in a fairly compact package. And so you can see this is where the Cat's Eye Nebula is, which is NGC 6543, or in German, Katzengebel. I'm going to take their word for that.
That is a tongue twister, man.
Katzengebel. German and with my ancestry is about 300 years ago, so I'm not good with that. But and as you can see, it lies very close to the north ecliptic pole, interestingly enough, which is another story as well. And there are a few other scattered deep sky objects, but we're up here at very high latitude still in the northern sky. Here it is. This is the great Don Goldman, who produces fantastic filters, by the way, among other things. His incredible image of the Cat's Eye Nebula, and there's a galaxy nearby, NGC 6552 in the upper left, a nice barred spiral there as well, moderate distance barred spiral. But you can see here very, very tiny in the center of this image is the bright component that looks sort of like a spirograph bit. Here we'll see in a second. And then Don has really, really well recorded this outer faint sort of first generation halo of material that came off of the star. So this is really an incredible, more or less wide field shot, if you will, by an amateur astronomer. Then we can go in and see the close-up. That's just the tiny central part of this image, the central spirograph image from the Hubble here. That's the bright part that you would normally see at moderate to high magnification in an amateur scope. And you can see this incredible sort of radial form and all kinds of weird blobs of stuff that has come off from the star that is dying, that's expiring on its way to becoming a white dwarf. And if you see sort of at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, the sort of orangey spikes in this pattern there, those are what planetary nebula astronomers call flyers, that are sort of very late generation high velocity bullets of material that come off from the poles of the star and create this weird sort of final effect. So it's a really complex object. You can't see it this well with an amateur scope, regardless of what you have. This is the Hubble Space Telescope, but you can see some detail in this inner disk. So it's a really interesting object and worthy of looking at. And then here's a composite, just to throw this in, that has optical data from Hubble and X-ray from Chandra as well, thrown in there to show you different characteristics of the inner structure of the nebula, which is pretty strange. It's about as complex as a planetary nebula inner ring structure gets. So that's pretty cool stuff. And I had to throw the latest comet image that came to me as well. This is from John Schumack from a couple days ago here now, of ZTF, the current ZTF. Showing its kind of inner coma and just a little bit of the ion tail there as well. It still looks pretty good there.
Beautiful.
Of course, we predicted that a bright comet would be coming with the first issue of Astronomy magazine of our 50th anniversary year. No, we didn't. But we published a special issue on comets, and we have some other special surprises coming in, and a very special big issue of the magazine coming in August, which is the actual 50th anniversary of when Steve Walther founded the magazine a year or two before he brought Terry Dickinson onto the staff, among others, there as well. So look out for some special things this year with astronomy. Scott did mention this. If you're going to be in the area of Tucson this coming weekend, we will have our annual public star party at Pima Community College on Saturday night, the East Campus of Pima. There, and myself and Michael Bakich, our contributing editor who was at the magazine for a long time, Alan Goldstein, who's written for us just about as long as I have, and perhaps even David Levy has said he will stop out, and we're going to give some talks there, as well as we'll have nighttime viewing and also daytime viewing of the sun. So that'll be Saturday in Tucson. We'll hope to see you there if you're in the area. And I will give a quick plug for the book that Michael and I wrote, A Child's Introduction to Space Exploration, which is out there and is relatively new as well. And if I'm not running over, Scott, I will stop sharing my screen. And Scott asked me to pull out a couple of things because the theme is falling stars. And we're inside a solar system in which things are moving around, and sometimes these bits of cosmic dust and other debris, pieces of asteroid or even pieces of a couple of other planets or the moon, come down and they do fall upon us. And so meteorites represent that, and that's a cool, fun thing to do, is to collect some meteorites too. So I won't take these out and belabor things, but I'll show them quickly here, some examples of meteorites. This is Cameldonga, which has a very nice dark fusion crust, stone meteorite. So stony meteorites represent the mantles, the outer parts of asteroids typically. Here is another one that you may have heard of in recent times. This is a piece of Chelyabinsk, the famous Russian fall that was captured on so many. Thankfully, there are lots of criminals in Russia who try to sue people for fake accidents. So everybody has a dash cam in their car. We saw lots of good coverage of that. This is one that, with the guise of the local museum director in Tunisia, when we had an astronomy expedition there, we went and collected pieces of Tataouine, which is an unusual meteorite, which has this greenish iron content, among other things. And it's actually a piece of the asteroid Vesta. Not to sidetrack you with all this stuff, but we're in the infancy. There's a real puzzle going back in time and in space of trying to figure out what the so-called parent bodies of meteorites are. That is one hell of a mess. Well, we know what the parent bodies are through spectroscopy, just of a few small number of meteorites, and Vesta is one of those contributing parent bodies that we can tell the source from. Well, when you get down into the cores of asteroids, things are more metallic. And so the meteorite Esquel is a blend of metallic iron and nickel, and also a little bit of forsterite, or peridot, as the gemologists would call it, of a mineral that is a silicate mineral there that's kind of a green, yellow, jelly mineral in there. That's closer to the core of asteroids. And then the exotic ones that I had out here real quickly, Dyer Algani 400 is a piece of the largest lunar meteorite. So unless you break into the Johnson Space Center and try to get a moon rock in that way, I do not recommend that, by the way. That'll get you into more trouble than flying a balloon from China over the United States. But this is a piece of a moon rock, which is the easy way to get a moon rock, and that is from a lunar meteorite, of which there are a few dozen. And then the most exotic way to get a meteorite of any kind is a Martian meteorite. This is Zagami, which looks more or less like sidewalk concrete. But this is from Bob Hague, the great dean of meteorite collectors, who had this original main mass of Zagami, which, courtesy of the Viking landers, we know is a piece of Mars because of the oxygen isotopes that are locked up in this rock. So that's a quick sort of survey of a few types, more interesting types in some cases, of the rocks that fall down upon us: falling stars, falling rocks, falling pieces of the solar system, cosmic dust, pieces of asteroids, the moon, or even Mars. So, Scott, I won't belabor things any more than that, other than to say thanks for having me again and putting up
thank you.
all of my stuff.
Yep. That's great. Wonderful.
Scott, while we have David here, since he has some foresight, can you tell us what the next issues are of Astronomy magazine, so we know what to look out for in the night sky?
Well, I could. My problem is that I'm thinking of the things that I'm planning, Karim, which is the November and December issues. And so to think back on the issues that are going to press, the March and April issues, it's like ancient history to me, trying to remember what are the feature articles in them. Maybe next week I can be a little bit better prepared, and without giving away the house secrets to smaller competing magazines. God bless them. We love them too. But I could preview a little bit of the next issue or two that are upcoming. But the August issue is going to be our big oversized thing that will have all sorts of special features in it, because that's the 50th anniversary issue.
So for those of us who've had minus 40 wind chill and haven't been able to spend too much time with the green comet, when's your next comet issue so that we can expect one that we can see?
Boy, I had to kidnap and twist the arms of all the editors who work for me to get them to do one comet that was a big special to do, trying to find the best images of 40 years worth of comets.
It's an
they
amazing
just
issue.
about. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's an amazing issue. You've done a
Well,
great
thank
job.
you. Well, I nearly got, kidnapped and killed by the staff for proposing that, but they pulled it off very, very nicely. So we won't be doing a comet issue again for a little while, I'm afraid.
We'll just keep our eyes looking upwards then.
You bet.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, David. We have Professor Karim Jaffer with us, and he hasn't been with us for a little while. He and I spent some time in Armenia together at the Starmus 6 event, and I got to meet his whole family, which was wonderful, and really enjoyed that.
Minus my son, who was busy at university, but
minus your son. Okay, all right.
But we had a blast. Armenia was great, and we got to do the GSP 100 and 110 afterwards, which was a lot of fun. But it's been a couple of months. Unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but you just recently passed on a bio, okay, to Jerry Mann, so Karim's going to be on with the Astronomical League live this weekend. This Friday at I think it's at 6 p.m. my time here, Central Time.
Yep.
And so he's the featured speaker, but he is, I'll read some of his bio here. He's the public events coordinator for the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Montreal Centre since 2016. He helped reestablish the I.K. Williamson Astronomy Library and coordinating both public events and outreach activities throughout the Montreal area, cultivating partnerships with many local and global institutions. Over the past few years, Karim has been actively learning and sharing the two-eyed seeing perspective through presentation and outreach activities with Indigenous people and astronomy communities across the globe. As a frequent presenter of Global Star Party, thank you very much, Karim, and an Explorer Alliance ambassador, it's our honor that you are. Karim was part of the Starmus 6 Star Party outreach team, that's true, with this past September in Armenia. In addition, in mentoring several student astronomy clubs and coordinating visits to local schools, guides, scouts, and libraries, Karim is a member of the National Royal Astronomical Society of Canada's Education and Public Outreach Committee and the 2021 recipient of the Charles M. Good Award. I like the sound of that. It is a good award.
It is. I was so touched when they gave that to me during COVID as well.
Congratulations. That's well deserved. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you, Karim. Thank you so much for coming on to Global Star Party.
Thanks, Scott. It's my pleasure. It's good to be back. And hi to everyone, to all the regular audience, the new people who are joining us on the GSPs. And a special shout out to my dad who's watching. As Scott and a few others are aware, my dad had an emergency surgery back in the fall, and he is on the road to recovery. So I'm glad to have him online with me since I can't be there in person. I'm just getting over a nasty bout of COVID to start the year, but I'm happy to finally have a voice again and be able to share a bit of astronomy outreach with you. So tonight, I'm going to do a quick check-in with the RASC Montreal Centre because it has been a little while. And then because the topic is falling stars, I'm going to be chatting a little bit about falling stars, but you'll see the little squared emblem there because I'm not going to hit it just one way. I'm going to mention to you two different approaches to talk about falling stars for tonight. As always with the RASC Montreal Centre, we like to start off with a bit of a land and sky acknowledgement, the idea being that our land is unceded Indigenous territory, but the skies are shared with the First Nations people from across the world. So at the moment, we are at a waning gibbous moon, almost full, just at, I believe it's like 95%, 96% at the moment. And the Mi'kmaq moons, the Mi'kmaq tribe on the east coast here of Canada, refers to this as the snow blinding moon. Now, most of the settlers do refer to the February full moon as either the snow moon or the hunger moon. And the snow blinding moon is actually part of this because February is not only known for the amount of snow and ice on the ground that reflects the full moon light, amplifying it. And we know we see this with the light pollution that we have around us, the artificial light that gets amplified and creates a glow, a dome all around the cities here in the Northeast and in northern North America here. But for the Mi'kmaq, it's an additional aspect because the blinding is because of the intense driving winds that come with the February moon that blow the snow directly into your eyes. And so oftentimes, if you're going out, even in the evening, sometimes when the sun is set, you'll still be wearing sunglasses because the snow is so blinding and it's so hard to look through the flying snow as it falls. We also can look to the stars of the night sky and see the winter maker full on in the south throughout the entire evening. Orion, what we recognize from Greek and Roman constellation stories, Western constellation stories, the winter maker for the Ojibwe actually spreads all the way from Aldebaran to Procyon on the other side. So it encompasses a much larger area than just Orion. But what you can see there is in the belt, the Orion Nebula represents where the pocket of snow is that comes out and comes over the land in the wintertime. And so there's a lot in the stories of the First Nations that we can see connected to observations of nature that we experience ourselves. So there is a lot of science and natural connections hidden in within these stories. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later towards the end of the evening. Now, the RASC Montreal Center, we, as everybody who's been watching me on Global Star Parties knows, we're a very active center. We tend to have a couple of events per week, not just for members, but also public events at least monthly. So for members at the moment, we are starting to do a few observing nights out and about when the weather allows. The weather, unfortunately, does not allow often. And in fact, our last public event was planned by Russell, who's on after me tonight, to be a full moon observing night at a local apple orchard, Verger La Bonté. And unfortunately, the forecast was initially minus 40 with the wind chill. And then it was also cloudy, so we ended up having to postpone it to next month. So hopefully on March 4th, we'll be out there with the public, sharing with them the full moon, Mars, and the stories of the night sky. In January, we had a wonderful public event with my friends at Guelph Physics. Orbax hosted us, and we had Sal, who was one of the researchers who works on the Perseverance pixel data to study Martian soil. And that was a lot of fun. We also had a members event that ended up having to be moved online because of, believe it or not, in Montreal, another snowstorm. And Russell is going to share some of his night skies from New Zealand with you tonight in about 5-10 minutes. Our next public event, which everybody will be invited to on Zoom or on YouTube, it's going to be by one of our local researchers and a professor emeritus at University of Montreal, Tony Moffat. He won the Beals Award from the Canadian Association of Astronomers and Astrophysicists last year for lifetime achievement in astrophysics. And he's going to share with us his journey into research and specifically the way in which he uses his intuition to determine what direction to take some of his studies and some of his analysis and some of his imaging that he does with telescopes that he has access to across the world. So more on that coming up in the next few weeks. We're also very active in outreach, and you can see both Russell and myself here last weekend at the Canadian Space Conference, which was run by student organizations for students studying in space science industry from across the entire country. So Russell and I decided to do a workshop on introductory astrophotography, and it was a packed house. We had over 150 participants, a lot of them having brought their laptops and downloaded images that Russell and I shared with them. And we walked them through elementary processing and a little bit of an introduction to citizen science. So those of you who watch on Friday at the Astronomical League Live will see a little bit of some of the stuff that I shared with them and then a little bit more of what I do with my students in citizen science. And if you look really keenly at the far back left of the top left picture there, you'll actually see a few of my honor science students who came in just towards the end of my workshop. And they were very frustrated that I don't do this for the honor science students and it's only something that I teach to the astronomy students. So they've asked me to find a way to do a workshop for them as well. This past week, I got to go to Royal Vale School, and Royal Vale is a combination high school and elementary school in the English Montreal School Board. And their vice principal asked me to come and talk to their AP math students, their robotics club students, and their Sec 5 graduating students who are currently taking physics, and talk to them about the imaging of the black hole at the center of M87, and then the imaging of the black hole at the center of our galaxy. It was an incredible talk, and afterwards I stayed after and answered questions for a bunch of the students. Most of them were too shy to get their picture taken, but 4 of them stayed behind, and all of them picked up some of the RASC outreach material. And this is where my first bout of falling stars is going to come in, because of course, when you're talking about black holes, kids want to know about spaghettification. They want to know about this whole concept of gravity pulling differently at the feet versus the head of an astronaut falling into a black hole, because this is the way in which it's brought up in pop culture. But one of the things we were talking about, because we were talking about galactic black holes and even stellar black holes that are larger and more massive, in order to detect them, you're limited to kind of trying to detect the accretion disk or the jets of material coming out because of ionized subatomic particles that are being caught up in the magnetic field lines. This whole concept of spaghettification applies not just to the idea of trying to investigate a black hole, but even to the idea of stars being cannibalized by these black holes. Because as stars come close enough that the gravity of the black holes can start to rip apart the fundamental structure of those stars, pulling off first the gas and then the inner core material, they really do spaghettify. They transform into these density variations as the material gets pulled in towards this black hole. So one of the things that the students really wanted to talk about was, is it right to talk about the black hole sucking things in? And my answer to them was no, because the black hole doesn't actively pull things in. The black hole is a ripple in space-time that happens to reach an infinite curvature. So that means the way it's felt by masses is that the gravity becomes more and more intense as you get closer and closer to the event horizon. And within the event horizon, the gravity is so great that not even light has enough energy to escape. It can't reach the escape speed to be able to exit that black hole. So when you're talking about falling for the stars, what you're actually talking about is the same thing Earth is doing around the sun, or the sun is doing around the center of the Milky Way, or the Milky Way is doing within our larger supercluster around the localized center of all of these galaxies that are interacting gravitationally, is everything is always accelerating towards a gravitational center of the system. And so you're falling towards the center, but if you have enough velocity in a perpendicular direction, you maintain an orbit at a constant radius around it. So even though you're falling, you don't move any closer. So the concept of falling stars in this way is very much the idea that unless you lose energy and move closer in, you're in a stable orbit. But because stars are not a solid object, it is possible for this spaghettification type of a concept where one side would feel more gravitational pull compared to the other side, that you can reach that imbalance and that loss of energy and start to have stars that come close enough be pulled in. And that's where the idea of the black hole as a vacuum or as something that sucks material in comes from, is the trying to understand that process. So falling stars can rapidly become chaotic spiraling stars, I guess, in the presence of these incredibly complex energetic objects. But let's be honest, that's not what Scott intended with this topic. What Scott intended with this topic was meteor showers, because meteor showers are fun to look at. They're a great thing to go out and see in the night sky. And this year, we are lucky in the Northern Hemisphere, because our meteor showers coming up in 2023, as compared to the last couple of years, almost every single one is in a favorable lunar condition where there's not too much moonlight to interrupt our viewing of these meteor showers. Look at the Lyrid in April. It peaks right after the new moon. So your waxing crescent will set well before you reach the hours when you want to be trying to watch the meteor shower. Perseid meteor shower, we have a waning crescent. The moon will rise somewhere in the early morning hours, and most of us enjoy the meteor showers for the Perseids somewhere around noon till 2 a.m. So we're going to have a really wonderful time all through the year, going all the way to the very last, the great show of the year, the Geminids, which peaks right around December 13th, 14th. December 13th is, for my religious celebrations, it's the Salgira Kushiali. And so I always, at the end of that celebration, I get to go out late into the night, if it's not too cold, to see Gemini meteor showers. I get to see nature's fireworks to celebrate. And we have a new moon on the 12th. So we're going to have very, very dark skies. And if there's not early snowfall, we're going to have limited light pollution as well. So we're really anticipating a great meteor season this year in 2023. We don't have to wait for these meteor showers. A lot of places, like the video that Scott showed earlier, we actually have a lot of locations, a lot of countries, and even a lot of provinces here in Canada that are setting up meteor networks. Here in Quebec, we have this dome network that's similar to something that was set up in France, that is a set of stations trying to identify fireballs for possible meteorites. Those are the rocks that make it through the atmosphere, so not meteors, but they actually make contact with the ground, like what David Eicher was showing us a little bit earlier. So just yesterday morning, the UK Meteorological Network of cameras, the UK MON, which is now 10 years old, saw this brilliant fireball. Now, how brilliant was this fireball? It was visible for over 287 kilometers,
Wow.
which is about 180 miles. So for a 180-mile stretch, everybody in that stretch saw this fireball. These types of objects, not only can you track them, you can also try to see if they manage to get through and they become bolids and you see them become brighter and break the sound barrier, you might be able to determine where they would land based on the trajectory that they show. But what's also interesting is if you take lots of these over a long period of time during one of these meteor showers, the radiant really does pop out. Because on any given night, there will be meteors that are just in random directions, just particles that interact with our atmosphere and brighten up that you will get to see. But when you have a meteor shower, you're passing through a comet's tail debris that was left behind, and the direction that you're passing, the stars behind there show the radiant from which those stars appear, or those falling stars appear to come towards us. So over the year, you can actually plot out every single one captured by one of these MON cameras, and you can identify every different radiant and how bright and how intense one meteor shower is compared to the other. All of this data is now publicly accessible. You can go in and you can view it and you can analyze it to your heart's content. And the fact that this is all now right out there and anybody can take an all-sky camera and connect it to one of these networks and contribute is another area of citizen science that's just waiting to blossom here in North America. But in Europe, they're already firing out after this. So many of my colleagues on the Space Oddities panel have installed these all-sky cameras and participate in these meteorological networks.
That's cool.
So when we go out in the wintertime or in the summertime for one of these meteor showers, and we get to sit there and watch as the night sky moves through, even on a cloudy night, and you see these occasional meteors come through, I want you to think back to the Hoopa legend. And the Hoopa legend is of Coyote dances with the stars. And the legend is as follows. Coyote one night was lying there enjoying a well-earned rest, and he looks up and he sees the stars twinkling. And he thinks to themselves that those stars look like girls. And if they're twinkling and they're beautiful girls, I want to go see them. So he wanders through the woods trying to find how to get up into the sky. And Grandmother Spider says, I can make you a web, but I don't know if it'll get you high enough. And the giant redwood says, that's okay. I'll bend down and fire you up into the sky, and then you can use the web to climb the rest of the way. So Coyote climbs up into the sky and gets closer and closer to these twinkling stars and realizes that the stars aren't twinkling, they're dancing. And he thinks to himself, I'm a good dancer, I can dance with them. And he asks, can I dance with you ladies? And the stars say, no, you can't keep up with us. We dance all the time, day and night, constantly. We never stop dancing. And Coyote thinks to himself, if they can do it, I can do it. They're just women. I'm a coyote. I can handle this. And he says, let me dance with you. Please, 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 let me dance. And he begs and he begs. And they say, you can dance with us, but we do not stop. We do not rest. Twinkling is all we do. And so Coyote has come to these stars close to the horizon that always twinkle, and he talks to these stars and they let him dance with him, and he dances with them. The first night goes wonderfully. And then the second night he realizes that he's getting a little bit tired and he's getting a little bit thirsty, and he asks, can I stop for a drink? And they say, no, you can't stop. We told you, we dance all the time. There's no stopping. There's no resting. So Coyote bucks up and says, I can keep going. And then the next night he is starved and he is tired and he is thirsty. And he says, please, 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 can we stop so that I can get a bite to eat? And the stars look at him and they say, you knew the deal. We dance. We don't stop. And so they drag Coyote along with them. And Coyote dances with them and dances with them, but he gets slower and slower. And they're dragging him. And finally, Coyote falls. And as Coyote falls to the ground, you see him light up through the atmosphere, and he hits the ground. And in Northern California, there's a wonderful spot marked there where the Hoopa Say Coyote landed. And it's a crater. And in fact, sometimes with these craters, because the craters create this basin for fresh rainwater, we have animals that are first seen coming out of these. And so, for example, the Ojibwe, I believe it is, they have the name of the wolverine actually means comes from the shooting star. And so Coyote landed in this incredible explosion that created the crater in Northern California. So when you go out into the night and you see these shooting stars, think to yourself, Coyote tried again, but he just was not good enough to keep dancing with those stars. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, gosh, Karim, thank you very much. You have just a great collection of these Native American or indigenous stories, and I just love hearing it. You know, I think that is a fascination by a lot of the audience that you bring this, you know, to our program. So thank you very much for doing that.
Well, my pleasure. You know, Scott, I'm very lucky that the elders that I've spoken with from a few different First Nations, as well as from a few different cultures from across the world, have given permission to share the stories when I'm not an authentic voice for a lot of these stories. But they recognize the purpose behind the outreach with the two-eyed seeing and trying to connect what you see in nature. You know, the twinkling of stars and scintillation goes into so many stories, and it is vital for a lot of cultures to know when there's storms coming, for example. And so recognizing the need to share this knowledge when it's culturally appropriate, but also when it's time sensitive. There's some of these stories that you can't share at different times of the year because they're not relevant and they're not appropriate to what's in the night sky. And so I'm lucky that I was, you know, I've gotten a little bit of a chance to learn these stories.
That's awesome. That is really incredible. Well, thank you very much, Karim.
Thanks.
I know that you've been a very busy guy, and I'm very happy that you were able to squeeze in some time for this GSP.
Me too.
Our
And I will see
audience
you on
also,
Friday.
very happy to. Yes, and I will see you on Friday, so thanks so much. That's great. Okay, so up next is Russell Fralich. Fralich, am I pronouncing that right, Russell?
It's Fralich. Yep, it's pretty good.
Fralich, okay, there we go. All right, it's been a little while since you've been on Global Star Party. Are you in New Zealand right now?
Unfortunately not. I'm back in the snow and in the 20 below or minus 20. So yeah, I wish I could be. I wish I could be.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. So that's great.
Great. Thanks, Scott. And thanks again. It's been wonderful to be back. And just look forward to this chance to give a little talk about my trip. Can you see that?
Yep. Perfect.
All right, just double checking. So thanks again for the opportunity, Scott. It's wonderful to be back. I'm just going to give a talk for about 10, 12 minutes about my first time observing the night sky in New Zealand. So I'm like Karim, I'm a member of the RASC Montreal Center, and we're located in Montreal, Canada, just about an hour flight north of New York City. And I had an opportunity to go back to New Zealand in December. So I had 3 weeks where I had to work remotely, but we actually planned and got ourselves access to a hike called Milford Track. And I'll show 1 or 2 pictures of that. And it's very hard to get into. There's an international lottery, and we gave ourselves a very low probability of winning, getting a spot during the year. And we got in. So all the spots for the entire hiking season down there were sold out in 8 seconds. And we got ours 6 seconds after the start. So we were very lucky. We went down with my wife, our daughter, and her reluctant boyfriend. So to give you an idea of how far away New Zealand is, it's really far. So from Montreal, we flew to Vancouver. That's 6 hours, and then a 14-hour nonstop flight from Vancouver to Auckland. That's really far. That's a lot of movies. For those of you not familiar with New Zealand, it's composed of two major principal islands. It's a 3-hour flight to the nearest landmass, which is Australia. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded by a lot of water. It's about 5 million people, and it's really, really nice. It's actually our 4th trip down there. We really, really like it. And to give you an idea of where we went. So this is us. We've landed in Auckland, and as my wife says, "Why are you taking a picture of this?" And I said, "Well, this is something an astronomer would appreciate. Look at that latitude, 37 degrees south. Oh dear, this is going to be great." How far away from home? Another airport we passed by had a little distance. So if you're from LA, look how far away. And of course, we're more than 15,000 kilometers away from home. That's really far. We felt very far away. So we arrived on December 9th in Auckland. That's the biggest city, but it's not the capital. The capital is Wellington, where they have all the film studios where they make Lord of the Rings and those kinds of movies. So we flew down immediately to a city called Christchurch. And for us astronomers, the interesting thing about Christchurch is it's 43 degrees south, lots of blue sky to look at. And we got there and we see this big sign. So that was a good sign. Actually, it wasn't really for us. It was because the city was sort of leveled by an earthquake about 10 years ago. So they were really rebuilding. But this was very comforting to see that when we arrived. And then the first evening, it wasn't a great evening, but I couldn't wait. So I went outside, and this is from Stellarium. Of course, they didn't have any names superimposed in the night sky. And I looked around and I said, I do not recognize anything towards the south, like nothing, no patterns, nothing. I think there's little extra stars. Maybe that's the Milky Way. However, if I look, and there's some of the constellations. Notice Sirius, the dog, is upside down. Betelgeuse is Orion's on its side. Things are very unclear. And towards the zenith is a star I've never even heard of. It's Alpha Eridani, Achenar. I've never seen it before. So completely lost. Then I turn north, and then maybe there's a little bit more. Okay, there's Taurus here, and there's Orion. But Orion's upside down, Taurus is upside down, Mars is below Aldebaran. Wow, this is super interesting. And they're very low over the horizon. So that was my first view of a night sky in New Zealand at 43 degrees south. And I was so excited, I got my sketch notebook out, and I drew a quick diagram to notice everything. And I tried to look at the Large Magellanic Cloud, which my star finder said should be just to the right of Canopus. And I couldn't see anything. And I brought my binoculars, and I still couldn't see anything. So my first night was sort of a bust beyond this point. We didn't stay there long. I managed to convince my wife to make a little pit stop at an international dark sky site. And this is a place called Lake Tekapo in the middle of the mountains. This is a picture I've taken from their tourist website. This is what they promote. It's a astro-tourism mecca. So it's an IDA dark sky site with a professional observatory run by the Physics and Astronomy Department of the University of Canterbury. And you can book a guided tour with a master's of astronomy or astrophysics students who will man or staff. They have a whole bunch of these Celestron 9.25s and Celestron 11s and refractors and a whole bunch of stuff. So I knew this, and the company, one of the big companies. So this is the little town. It's a little village. And you can see the observatory dome there where they have like a 6-inch refractor. And then this is the main entrance. It's a private company called Dark Sky Project, which I've been to before. And the day I was there, they were all full. So like, okay, well, I'll do it myself then. This is all I was able to squeeze in because the main reason for going down was for this extended hiking, a 4-day hiking trip over 35 miles, 33 miles in the mountains, in the rainforests. So I was only able to stuff my DSLR, a $10 cheap plastic tripod, an intervalometer, and my binoculars. And that's all I had. And I really wish I'd had more, but this is what I could bring. In Lake Tekapo, we got an Airbnb, a cute little cabin. And the first evening we were there, I just aimed my cell phone, which is this thing, a regular little cell phone, put it on their manual mode. The longest exposure I could do is 10 seconds at high ISO 3200. put it on a rock and aimed up, and this is what I could see. Yep, it's a dark sky area. It is super clear, and the altitude's about almost 1,000 meters, about 3,000 feet.
Oh, it must have been awesome.
And it was so clear. So I don't know, I didn't know what I was looking at. I had to consult. This is the Eta Carina Nebula. Holy cow. So we kept on going. In the distance is their peak. So Lake Tekapo is a village at the bottom of a lake surrounded by mountains. And here's one of them a little bit further on. This is Mount Cook or Aoraki, their tallest mountain, about 3,700 meters. I don't know what that is in feet, I'm sorry. We kept on going, and this was for 4 days. We were at a place called Fjordland National Park and doing the Milford Track. To give you an idea of what it is, this is me hiking. Rockfall hazard, I think, is a little bit behind because there's the rock. Too late. They have ferns that are 3 to 4 meters high. It's 10 to 12 feet, something like that.
That's right.
They're monsters. They're monster ferns. And there's alpine hikes as well. And then you go through these rainforest vistas. This is part of the trail. I just stopped, took a picture with my cell phone. This is pretty nice, but we were so tired. So each day is more than 7 hours of hiking with packs. My pack was 15 to 17 kilos. So I don't know what that is. 20, 30 pounds, maybe 35 pounds. I don't know. And then we ended at a place called Milford Sound, which is featured in so many Hollywood movies. So it was just stunningly beautiful. It was a great hike. We continued to an island just to the south. It's at 48.5 degrees south. And the next stop after this point is Antarctica. That's it. And the reason why, again, it's a prehistoric preserved forest and fauna. It's been untouched for 60 million years since the landmass carved off from Australia. And it's managed by the National Park Service. And the plants and animals are unique to this one island. It was very cool. And it's also an IDA dark skies preserve. So they're all over the place. So again, and they had a lot of tourism there, but we weren't able to stay long enough to take advantage because we had another place to go to, which was this place up in the North Island, a place called Waii Beach. And we stayed there until Christmas. So we spent Christmas at the beach in this little cabin in a trailer park. And it was pretty nice.
Very nice.
This is 5 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m., because of course it's almost at summer solstice there. Or actually, it was summer solstice. It was the 22nd or 21st. So those some of the other camper vans, and they have palm trees everywhere, which we don't see too many of in Montreal, unless they're indoors. And here's the first evening, again with my cell phone, just to get things going. Again, a 10-second with a crappy camera on a cell phone. There's Eta Carina Nebula again, and some other interesting things. And look, there's a little upside down cross and 2 stars. I'll get to those in a moment. So I also, when I do polar alignment at home, I use my little app, and this time I turn my app on. It doesn't show polarities; it shows the stars and octans. And okay, pretty interesting. So I look, where is the South Celestial Pole? I took a 3-minute untracked image with my camera to see if I could find out where the center of rotation was, and I don't see anything. So I'm very impressed for people in the Southern Hemisphere. I don't know how they do the polar alignment because I don't see anything to align to. So cell phone, I'm looking for the Magellanic Clouds, 10 seconds, and there they are. You can see them in the sky. They are so bright. And they're humongous. They're not subtle, I must say. So that's 10 seconds. So the LMC and the smaller Magellanic Cloud, I was like, okay. So then I started aiming my camera, my DSLR, with a 50 millimeter lens, nothing fancy. And this is what I found.
Wow.
This is 100. So I have no tracking mount. So I'd use the 500 rule with a crop sensor. So that's 6 seconds per image before things start trailing. So I just kept on doing it until I ran out of battery. So this is the Tarantula Nebula. It's like, there's so much stuff. And then while I was taking a picture, I had my little 10x42 binoculars and I just scanned around for 2.5 hours. It was amazing. And I'd never seen any of these things before. So it was super impressive. I was super impressed that I was completely lost looking at the sky. And then I was super impressed at what I could see with the little things that I was able to bring. Here's the smaller Magellanic Cloud. And then I was like, what is that? It's 47 Tucanae. So it's a huge globular cluster. And my comparison was that in my binoculars, this looked like M13 did in my 80 millimeter refractor. It's so big. It's like, oh, geez, that's pretty serious. I just took a random picture of Canopus, the Alpha Carina, because I thought, oh, this is really so prominent. I wonder what's around there. And I did a plate solve on PixInsight to see, okay, I've never seen any of these things before. So, oh, just for curiosity's sake, I wonder what's up there. Low over the southeast horizon, of course, I had to see Omega Centauri, and I wanted to see Centaurus A, but Centaurus A hadn't come up over the horizon in the south yet, and Omega Centauri was very low, but again, it's big. It was really big. I was very impressed. Again, this is from my DSLR. Here, and because the night was closing, I was getting tired, and I didn't really know what else to look at, so I just sort of aimed it randomly, and then plate solved. Let's see, what did I get? So I got this. And so it's constellation Puppis, which is visible from 45 degrees north where Montreal is, but below this line is invisible to us. So anything around here I could never see, and here it would be just at the horizon, so I'm not going to see it anyways. And I thought, oh, it's pretty interesting. I was curious. And here's a dedicated picture of Eta Carina and some other stuff. Again, it's not a long exposure. It's only 53, so it's 6 minutes with my camera.
And what a rich region of the Milky Way.
Oh man, it's overwhelming. It's really, really, I was so impressed. And then this is Crux, which is like on the flag of New Zealand and Australia and many others. And the Coal Sack, the Dark Nebula, and the Jewel Box Cluster. There's so much other stuff. And then I also did another picture with Alpha Centauri and had our Beta Centauri. I just thought I really needed a picture of those guys too. And my final picture in the sky was something more familiar, although I was on its side and upside down. So I thought, okay, I'll take a picture of Orion. Why not? Orion's in the northeast. Never seen that location before. It's pretty cool. And my last picture is Christmas morning. Very sad.
So beautiful.
Oh, so beautiful. Very sad to come home. Thanks very much for listening. And thanks again for the invitation, the warm welcome, Scott. Always a pleasure.
Oh, anytime. Anytime. That is great. Is this a trip that you would make again back to New Zealand?
Oh, one day. It was a trip. This one was a trip of a lifetime. We spent about a year planning and organizing for it for the hike. I had to go to the gym, a whole bunch of stuff. Had to arrange for work and stuff. My daughter got permission from her company to work remotely, but it's an 18-hour time difference. So it was. Oh
yeah, lots of jet lag.
Lots of jet lag. Yeah, it takes about a week to get normal again, and then a week to get when we came back, we didn't really leave the house for about 5 days. It was so dark and crappy and snowy, and just ordered pizzas. No point in leaving.
Wow, Russell, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
That's great.
Thank you.
It's great. We are going to take about a 10-minute break here. So it's perfect time to get a sandwich, take a break, stretch your legs, get a coffee, whatever. And we'll be back with more Global Star Party.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. have to unmute myself. That was a fascinating crater that I learned about just today. The Hiawatha crater. It's a candidate. They don't know for a fact that it was an impact crater, but everything kind of leads to that it was something that impacted it. Probably some sort of a metal asteroid that may have hit. There was some speculation that it was a younger event than what they've determined it to be now. Some earlier articles that I saw about it from 2018 indicated that it would have happened during the time when humans roamed the Earth. But they now know that it's much older at this point. So, but there are craters all over the world, and there's probably more yet to be discovered. So, but our next speaker is none other than Cesar Brollo. So we're going to go down to Argentina and bring Cesar on to find out what he's doing on his from his rooftop in Buenos Aires. Cesar, are you with us?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me good? Can you watch me okay?
I don't see you yet, but let's see.
Let me check.
I see him.
You see him?
Yeah, he's frozen in time. But,
Frozen?
yeah, it's a great picture of you looking at us on your
But
balcony
without movements.
without
Let me
movements.
check. Yeah, let me check. I try. Stop video, and maybe it's too much for my computer. Let me check. Sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, your audio's good.
Yeah. My idea is have a video too, but I don't know. No. It's like Adrian say, a great picture of me. But the problem is that I don't know why. Sorry, I have this problem. Totally frozen the image. Yes, I can see the same, and I can't change the camera. Maybe if you prefer, Scott,
You want to try coming on a little bit later?
Yes, or
Okay.
yes, I leave the chat and and I return again. One second, but yes, now it's totally impossible to change something. It's my computer is like Windows uses restarting or.
Okay.
I have the live stacking. Let me check. Yes, this is why this is too much. Sorry.
Okay.
The live stacking. Yes. Let me.
All right, Cesar. So what we'll do is we'll go to Daniel Barth to talk about the Eratosthenes project, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes, in 15 minutes I return. Yes,
Okay.
I check this. Yes.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Daniel, are you available? I think you're muted there.
How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Perfect.
Hey, there we go. Hi, everybody. And thanks, Scott, for bringing me on.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got just the most exciting project going on. Many of you are probably familiar with my books, Star Mentor and Astronomy for Educators. Astronomy for Educators, really pleased to say, is now the #1 free astronomy lab manual in the world.
Wow.
About 9,000 schools in more than 60 countries are using it.
Wow, congratulations.
One of the activities that I wrote in there that I was like, I want to do this someday, was called the Eratosthenes project. Eratosthenes, of course, a Greek mathematician and scholar from about 2,300 years ago. He did his work in the 3rd century BC. He was a Greek, so he was living in Egypt, which was part of the Greek Empire at the time, under Alexander. And he was the first fellow to successfully measure the circumference of the Earth, which was very exciting because the tools he had basically a stick and a ruler, and that's what he had to measure. And his trick was very simple. He picked 2 cities, Alexandria and Syene, which is now called Aswan, by the way, that are almost directly north-south of each other along the Nile. Because he was the librarian at the Library of Alexandria, he's like one of the most famous librarians ever. He had access to all the maps and the cartography. The Egyptians had been sailing and doing commerce along the Nile for thousands of years by the time he was there. And so they knew quite precisely the north-south distance between the port city of Alexandria and the city of Syene. In Syene, on the summer solstice, it was known there was this wonderful phenomena. When the sun was at noon on the solstice, it would shine down into the wells without any shadow. So in other words, Syene is on the equator and the sun would be directly overhead. Eratosthenes had this brilliant idea. If we go about 1,000 kilometers north to Alexandria and on the summer solstice, both cities, someone said, oh, put a vertical rod on the ground and measure the length of the shadow. From there, we can get the altitude, what we can call the altitude, the angle of the sun off the horizon. And because the Earth is curved, these 2 places on the Earth would have a different solar angle, and the difference in the angle would be the percentage. It would be proportional to the angle to the Earth's core. And so by ratio and proportion, very simple, relatively 6th grade math, he was able to go ahead and get the circumference of the Earth. He was able to do it accurately to within about 2.5% of the modern value. Well, I had this great idea. Gee, if you're an educator, you can contact another school in a distant city and you can try this project on your own. Well, so it stood until my friend and colleague, David Sederberg, who's a professor of physics and astronomy at Purdue, he said, hey, Daniel, I'm taking a group of physicists and physics teachers down to Columbia, and I'd like to do this experiment with you. I said, that sounds like a brilliant idea. You know what would be great? If we could get lots of people around the world to do it with us. And I said, I know a guy. I know Scott Roberts. I have friends at the Global Star Party. Yes. And so what we'd like to challenge everyone in the GSP audience to do is participate with us. We're having the International Measure the Earth Day. It's actually a week, March 12 to 18. We made it a week because we want a chance for everybody to have clear skies. And what we're going to ask people to do is simply take a stick and place it vertically. You might wonder what this little thing is on top of here. I'm trying to get this. This is a little bubble level. This is a 99-cent bubble level. You can find them you can find them at RV stores, which is great because RVs need to be level all the time.
That's
so you
right.
get these little stick-on levels for about $1. And this is a dowel rod from a home improvement. And because we're in America, it's 36 inches long as a yard. Most of you around the world, if you went to a home improvement store, would get something that was 1 meter long. But the brilliance of this project is that the length of the rod doesn't matter. We need to know the length of your rod. We need to know the length of its shadow. And we're going to measure the shadow when the shadow points due north. So you're going to need some sort of a compass. Your cell phone would do. I use my old-fashioned lensatic compass here. But you're going to draw a line on the ground that points north-south. There's a variety of ways to do that. It turns out many buildings around the world, especially schools, are built with the main building quite nicely aligned, north, south, east, west. Thank you very much. So if your building is aligned, your sidewalk is aligned. So finding a north-south line is very, very easy. The experiment is quite forgiving. If you're within a degree or two, it's fine. It's going to give a good result because the sun at the top of its arc doesn't change altitude very much for several minutes right around local noon. So we're all going to measure this when the shadow crosses that north-south line. That means we're essentially all measuring at the same time of day, solar noon, right? We used to have AM and PM literally anti-meridian. The sun is in the east, post-meridian, the sun is in the west. And we're all measuring at local solar noon. So all we need then is your latitude and longitude. And we're going to be having, we're still working on this. This project came up rather quickly about 10 days ago, but we're going to have a Google form for everybody to put in your name if you'd like, or your school that's doing this, and put in your latitude, longitude, the length of your measuring rod, the length of your shadow, and the time of day, and that's all we need. We're going to compare each measurement to everybody else's. One of the interesting things about Eratosthenes, he used only 2 cities. So he proved the Earth is round along that north-south line, but you can measure the circumference of a potato at the center, and it would be a circle, but the potato is not necessarily round. We're going to go beyond what Eratosthenes did. Because if we compare all these measurements to each other and we keep getting a consistent circumference from the Earth, which is our hypothesis, we're quite certain it's true, we're going to not only prove that we can measure the circumference of the Earth accurately, we're going to prove the Earth is a sphere. This experiment, if the flat Earth people are right, friends, this experiment won't work at all. Everyone will have the same solar altitude and the solar angle, and we won't get any valid result at all. But if we're all getting a very comparable measurement for the circumference of the Earth, we want to do 2 things. We want to beat Eratosthenes' record of being accurate to within 2.5%, and we want to prove the Earth is a sphere, which will be a wonderful experiment. And I know we all as astronomers, we all hear from people every day, the Earth is really flat. You can't prove it's round. Yes, we can, and we're going to do it together.
Awesome.
We want as many people across the globe to do this as can. And this very simple method of getting your gnomon is what it's called, or your measuring rod here, vertical, is to use a bubble level. This requires 2 people, one to hold the stick vertical and one to measure the shadow. But a lot of us amateur astronomers are folks who work by ourselves. So I've developed a method for us, and it's a 1-person method. And all I've taken here, I've taken the top of my camera tripod and I've bolted a ruler to it. This is a steel 30-centimeter ruler. You could use a stir stick. You could use anything you want. In the United States, camera tripods are all 1/4-20. I'm assuming that in much of the rest of the world, they may be metric fitting, but it doesn't matter. All you need is one fitting nut here and your ruler. Why are we doing this? Because when we go ahead and we snap this into the top of the tripod, what we want here is we want the rod to be far enough away from the tripod that the shadow of the tripod and the shadow of the measuring rod don't interfere with each other. And what we've done here, we have a rod with a steel eye screw. You could use a cup hook, one of those hooks. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to, this isn't vertical, is it? No. But if I now go ahead and raise my tripod, eventually my rod is swinging free. This is now a pendulum. It's a pendulum bob. And when it stops swinging, I'm going to lower it down so it just touches the Earth. And we want it touching right on top of that north-south line that we've drawn on the ground. Now we have the tripod acting 2 jobs. It's keeping the stick perfectly level, and it's holding it for us, so we don't need a partner. And now when that shadow sweeps across the north-south line, we can chalk it, and we can measure from the base of the rod to the tip of the shadow, and we can get a very nice result. Thank you very much. I mentioned a 1 meter rod. Doesn't really matter. as long as we know the ratio between the height of your gnomon rod and the length of your shadow, as long as we know the accurate ratio of the two, we can get the solar angle quite nicely. So although I've used a 1 meter rod, if you want to use, I don't know, if you want to use something that's 30 centimeters long or whatever, it'll work just fine. And again, this is a very simple experiment, but I think highly significant, because what we're doing, friends, is we're gathering people around the world to do citizen science. And we're not just involving you, our GSP friends, but I'm also going to be reaching out to a lot of school colleagues and school groups and science teaching groups that I'm a member of, I don't know, 50 or 60 of these groups on various social media. So I'm going to be reaching out to schools, but I want a solid citizen scientist group participating with me. And I frankly couldn't think of a better group than the GSP audience.
That's great.
Because global star party people are involved. We get out and we do stuff. The nice thing about this experiment, you know, you chalk your north-south line. It should be a level surface, by the way. You chalk your north-south line and you go out a couple minutes before noon, bang, you chalk where the tip of your shadow is, where the base of the tripod is, and measure that with a tape measure. And we'll have a Google form available. We're still writing that. Like I said, this is literally just blossomed within the last 10 days. I do have on my YouTube channel, which is Astronomy for Educators, I have a couple of videos for you. I'm also putting together a Dropbox where I'll have the links for the videos and the student worksheet paper, which is essentially a how-to, but the videos will guide you through it. It's a very short, easy experiment to do, and I hope you will join me because I want as many thousand people from as many different countries as we can get. I want to make this a truly global effort, and I want to show that individual citizen scientists and students can do meaningful, powerful science, and to get people involved with this, because we've all had somebody come up to us and say, oh, the earth is really flat. And sometimes you figure that they're doing it just to poke at you. But participating in this, we could say, oh no, it's round. I did the experiment. I helped prove it. Right. And that, I think, is a merit badge worth pursuing.
Absolutely. I did it with a stick.
Yes. So especially Cesar, I'm hoping you'll get your friends down in South America. We'll have people in your country.
Marcelo in Brazil. Yeah.
In Brazil. And my friend, Dr. Sederberg, will be in Colombia. And I know we have audience across Europe and Asia. I'd like everybody to give this a shot between March 12 and 18. We need to know the day, the time, the length of your measuring rod, the length of your shadow, and your GPS coordinates. And that's all we really need. And what we're going to do, unlike Eratosthenes, who just compared one measurement to the other, we're going to be measuring what we hope will be comparing thousands of measuring points together with each other. We're going to group them by longitude. And we hope this is going to be a great result. We'll provide all the data publicly once we get it all collated, and we'll distribute that through Explore Alliance. And we'll give you the spreadsheet, either filled or blank, so you can manipulate and play with the data yourself. And this, I think, it should be exciting for everyone to participate in. It's very easy, and we're doing it during the daytime. I don't know if you're a real dedicated, hardcore astronomy nut, maybe that's anathema to you, but I hope you'll stay up at noon and give it a shot. But I think this is going to be a fascinating project. And of course, if you have questions, you're welcome to email me at Astronomy for Educators. I'll get materials for Scott to put up on the Explore website within a day or two. This is also a busy time of the semester for me, but we're going to get this done, and we're going to have all these materials available for you, and we'll be on a future Global Star Party when we can show you all these materials available for download And I'm hoping I can get everybody here to commit and say yes to the
You've already got
Eratosthenes.
people saying yes.
You've got me saying yes. My
Yeah,
only problem
good.
is I live in the state of Michigan, USA, and it's cloudy for months. So
Well,
we'll hope that there's enough sun in those 6 days to cast a shadow. I think that'll
you
work.
know, if you get a bunch of people in Michigan to do it in the same day who are, at least 100 miles apart, north-south distance, then we can use that data later. We'll be happy to add to the database. We know that everyone isn't going to be able to have clear skies magically on March 12 to 18. We know some people are going to be clouded out for the week, but we're just hoping we can get lots of people to say yes, to commit to making a stab at this. And basically, what are we asking you for? Here, you need a broomstick, right? Or a shovel handle, or a closet dowel rod that you hang your curtain, you hang your clothes or your
I was going to use
on.
a baseball bat myself.
A baseball bat would work. A baseball bat would work. And these labels, they have a little sticky. And my friend Kent Marsh said, "Well, Dan, couldn't you stick a level on a baseball bat with a piece of chewing gum?" I'm like, "Yes, you could." So there's really
That's the solution.
so
I
little
like.
expense involved in this, and most of this stuff we all have. Oh, I have a ruler, I have a tripod, and with a tripod you don't need the level. It levels. It's self-leveling because the rod now becomes a pendulum ball, and then all we need is a tape measure, and we're solid. We're good. So it's easy.
I think you're going to beat Eratosthenes' record here. I think that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I think there will be plenty of astronomy clubs if we present that this challenge, even if all they want to do is do their part to prove flat earthers wrong, they will jump at the chance to do it. And I think this is going to be an excellent thing. You can count me in.
Excellent.
I have all sorts of stuff. I got a couple baseball bats.
I'll do it.
I'll figure something out. But
Outstanding. And
I'll spread the word. If
you're a member of an astronomy club, reach out to them. We're also reaching out to the news media here. We're going to reach out to NPR and some of the local news. We hope it's going to be picked up nationally. I would be thrilled if we got 10,000 data points. I'll be excited with 1,000. Eratosthenes had 2.
We just have to beat 2.
100 would be successful. 1,000 would be glorious. Beyond that would
Sublime.
be a miracle. And it's going to be some substantial computer processing power. If you have 1,000 points and you want to compare each to the other, even if you're banding them by longitude, that's a lot of computer processing power. But we have some people committed to help us with that. And we are literally working on this every day, David Sederberg and I, and we're going to get the data out to you as soon as we can. And I'm just thrilled. Scott heard about this and he was like, "This is so exciting.
Do it."
And he was like, his eyes just lit up. It was like giving him like that first telescope. Maybe not, but seriously, friends, his eyes just lit up.
This is better than the first telescope.
I can't think of any other project other than the Dark Sky initiative, where those of us with SQML meters are going around measuring dark sky and sending it through an app on our phone or on a website saying these skies are not as dark as they were in 2015. I've gone to 3 or 4 different places with my meter, and I've noticed the numbers are down or up. Well, down on the SQM meter. This is a very similar project, and I think I said it before, I'll say it again. I think there are a lot of astronomers, astronomy enthusiasts, science. You may not be as big an astronomy enthusiast as myself or anyone you see here, but you love science. I think you love this, and I think this was an excellent idea.
We're hoping that we can take a look at some other famous ancient experiments, and we can, every 6 months or so, we can do another one of these. But we really thought this was one of the crowning achievements of intellect and astronomy in the ancient world. And we thought, what better project to start with? And we're just really excited about it, and we're gonna make this as big as we can make it. So David Sederberg and I are just committed to that. Dr. Sederberg, by the way, runs a program called Saturday Morning Astrophysics at Purdue, and I've been very pleased to be a guest there a couple of times, and he's become a good friend and a colleague, and we just both looked at this and we're like, let's jump in. So we're letting our enthusiasm carry us along, and I hope you're enthused too. And if you have questions, you're welcome
as you get closer, with the website and all of that.
Right.
And we can do maybe just for this one project, we do like a little show. And,
sure. And I ran this out in my backyard this last weekend and measured the solar angle, and then I compared it to what Stellarium gave me at my precise GPS. I got an error of just 0.7% doing it this way with the stick and the ruler, and I was like, wow, can I get within 2.5? I got within 0.7% of an error. So I was so excited. I think we're going to get great results, and it's so easy to do. It requires we're going to do all the hard math for you. The trigonometry will be built into the spreadsheet, but this is really stick and a ruler, and that's all. All that's required. And we're going to break down. We have a student worksheet which breaks down the actual math for you if you want to get into that. And like I said, that will be available in the next couple of days on Explore Alliance website. And I'm so thrilled with everybody's response here. If you have questions, friends, or you'd like to know how to get more people involved, you're welcome to email me at astronomyforeducators@gmail.com. And I will respond to every query. I do respond to every query I get. So, and if you haven't picked up the Astronomy for Educators book, it's available free. Just put it into any search engine, Astronomy for Educators, Daniel Barth, and it will pop up for you. And I would appreciate you download it, offer it to friends. It's free. And the new book, Star Mentor, of course, I hope you'll take a look at that too, because that's the guide for you experienced folks to teach the next generation. And it's the guide for the next generation to become tomorrow's experienced amateur astronomers that we here at the GSP audience so wonderfully represent. Anyway, Scott, thank you so much for the time.
Dr. Barth. Okay, so it looks like we've got a good video at this point, a good connection with Cesar Brollo. Cesar, I'm going to give you the spotlight here. There you go.
Yes. No, only unfortunately I'm using my reflex camera for streaming, but I don't know why. Maybe it's too much. The streaming. My idea to be to have a better quality video to show the setup. Well, don't work because maybe it's too much for this computer in the balcony. But well, I using the camera of the laptop now and work, and we don't need to change this at this moment because it's the best way where we have some image tonight.
Cesar.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you.
Hi, Marcelo. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Can you see the comets?
No. The comet here is really
Very low.
Yes, the magnitude of the comet is really low. Maybe tomorrow or tonight, but I need to go to the rooftop with a biggest telescope. But the connection in the rooftop is internet connection is very bad, and in my apartment, my balcony, I have a good connection. But many friends, Marcelo,
this is a rare moment where something not visible in the southern sky is high in the northern sky. We don't have that very often.
Yeah.
We have been basking.
We
in
usually
it.
get beat out.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around.
That's right.
No, of course, and something that is really, it's a joke that me are talking about falling stars, because if something is impossible to see in middle of the city are falling stars. and but tonight I'm talking about the setup of my from my balcony. I try maybe I can change my camera. I try to don't freeze everything. If not,
Now, for you, is up
Oh,
to
my
Capella.
God.
Now. You need to find Capella, and it's between Capella and Mars. Is this?
yes, right.
The position that we have here.
Absolutely, yes. Maybe I lose my connection of video connection, because maybe you can hear me good and I can hear you, but the problem that I have tonight is something about the video connection. And yes, I think that maybe in 2 days I'll kind of point to the but I think that this maybe tonight is the last opportunity. The problem is that for example, a problem where we have about about the media about the comet here in Argentina. All media talking about the green big comet, and they confuse them to the people, and the people ask about the situation of a big comet, where a big green comet.
Yeah, they're expecting a huge comet, a really bright comet. Yeah.
Yes.
We are sorry. We sent our media clippings down to you in Argentina and Brazil.
It would be a good case study in search engine optimization to see how this comet, which is a beautiful, nice comet, and yes, it photographs green. Many comets do. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
But
And so, but this has become the green comet, and it just caught the attention of the population, and there's really nothing wrong with that,
No, absolutely.
But some disappointed people.
Until they all get disappointed because they can't find it.
Yes.
Then we have to answer for that. Well, why? You said it was green. I didn't say it was green.
Well, the same thing was true of Halley's Comet,
big.
Adrian.
Yeah.
A lot of people were expecting a really super big comet from Halley, and I was just honored. It did turn out to be a very nice comet. Halley's did, and but nothing like compared to Comet Hyakutake or Hale Bopp. Hale Bopp you could see in daylight. So
well, even Hale Bopp you could see in daylight. Now, even 3 years ago or 2.5, we had this comet come along that we called Comet Neowise, and that one turned out to be
that was a nice one too.
That
Very
one was
nice.
fairly easy to photograph.
Yeah.
So
yesterday,
comparing to even a recent do we lose Cesar?
Yeah.
Well, even compared to Neowise, this comet wasn't much to look at. You could easily spot it with an 8-second image. If you just pointed your camera in the right spot, you could see the fuzzy dot. And a lot of astrophotographers got some really great, you had Gary Palmer on earlier who had a really good shot of it. And the shot that he had before where you could see the various tails. I mean, there have been some beautiful images.
That was cool.
And
yesterday I had an experience here. I gave 2 live interviews for 2 different Brazilian channels. I will show during my presentation what they did when I was in the live interview. we were with telescopes, and I was saying it is difficult to find. It's not to be a comet that you can see with naked eye. You need the equipment, but they showed images of the green comets, and in the subtitles was written "green comets."
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and that these beautiful images get used, and I know that our public tends to think, oh, if I look in the sky, I'm going to see this. And it's like, no, you're going to see a smudge. And actually one of the images that I took, we were celebrating our Martin Luther King Day here in the States. I used a wide angle image, and I looked at where M51 and M101 are, and noticed that there's a similarity in how these two galaxies look. They're just sort of smudges in my picture, and so was the green comet. They were all smudges. And so that taught me, well, if I'm Messier and I'm looking for comets and I run across a galaxy, I think it's a comet because it certainly looks like it could be one, until I come back tomorrow and it doesn't move from its location, whereas a comet can move within a span of a couple of hours. So it allowed me to think, well, this is what it must have been like to hunt comets. If you're, and I don't want to get his first name wrong, Charles Messier, I believe, Scott or Marcelo.
That's
right. So he's hunting comets. They're these fuzzy balls that move in the sky, as opposed to everything else that's a fuzzy ball that doesn't move. Right. And of course, we put the telescopes on them. But so you did your part, Marcelo, to try and stem the tide.
I will show
set
the video.
The expectation.
In my presentation, I will show the video. You'll see what crazy they did.
Okay. All right. Well, Marcelo, why don't we go ahead and start with your presentation, and we'll give Cesar a few more minutes so that he can finish his segment.
Find the big old comet.
Yeah, right.
No, just kidding.
Comet.
No,
yeah.
we are kidding. He is he will show us some other things.
You got the stage, Marcelo. Thank you for coming on.
Okay. I will show here what we are doing. Here I will show first we organize two outreach activities. One in a community far from here that was organized by one of the members of the groups. And what is fantastic, you have a lot of kids that participate. This was the experience in a public square very far from downtown. And she organized an activity with a lot of kids there. This is the girl that was responsible. Her name is Stephanie. She was there with a lot of kids. For them, it was the first time that they looked in telescopes. Wonderful. And this we organized in a public square here downtown, and a lot of people participate. Is your telescope that we are using, Scott?
Thank you.
And a lot of people was there participating in this experience that we had there. Again, we organized Friday and Saturday and Monday, 3 days in sequence. This is one of the pictures that you took.
Oh, yeah.
It is a fantastic experience because you see that the families participate. And what is most important is that the kids that bring the parents to see, because they first arrive the kids and later the parents. Here is the position of the comet for us here in our region in Brazil. I think that's almost the same for Cesar. It is low for him, probably than what I'm showing here. And we tried yesterday, and I will show one of the I gave 2 live interviews, one during noon, at noon, and the other it was a live during our activity to find the comet at night. Is this one here that you show? Yeah, it's reading green comets I said that we can't see by naked eye, but they put that is a green comet, and you will see us live there.
She's also wearing green clothes.
Yes. Hi, we were there.
Eu quero saber, Yuri, já conseguiu ver alguma coisa por aí? O tempo ajudou?
You see the pictures that they showed when I was saying that was difficult to find because we had clouds also in the sky during the presentation.
Nesse momento tão esperado. Vamos conversar ao vivo com o Marcelo,
It was live.
coordenador do clube. Marcelo, muito obrigado pela sua participação aqui no jornal.
I was talking about how to find the comets, and it was an experience for many people here is trying, but it's raining a lot here. Today is raining. Yesterday we had clouds, and the prediction is that we will have clouds. The image that they showed. I was talking about how to find in the sky. They showed this image. I was saying that it was difficult to find the comets. But this is something that they do.
It's wonderful, though, that they are giving attention to the sky and to learning astronomy. You know.
Yes, they invited us to participate in live presentations. Then they show, you see the pictures that they showed. But it's important is that it was possible that I could talk about how to find the comets with binoculars, with telescopes, and the difficulties to find by naked eye. That probably will be impossible to see here.
Excellent.
And here was the reporter here. And now I will talk a little about this one. That is a chondrite, that say in English, or chondrites, the name of the meteorites. It's chondrite in English. In Portuguese, it's chondrito. I don't know the correct word in English for the meteorites.
Yeah, it's a chondrite, right?
Chondrite, yes.
Chondrite, yes.
What happened? This old man, he lives very far from downtown, and in 2010, 19th of June 2010, we have a game in the World Cup, and he was watching the game, and he lives in a very simple house, in a farm, very far from here, and everybody here in the region saw a big fireball that passing the sky from many cities saw, and during 1 week I participated in TV in many programs in TV, and I asked people if they found, because it was a big fireball, have a big explosion, and 1 week later he near where he lives they have a school, and he with this rock, he arrived with this rock to the teacher and said that he saw coming from the space.
Wow.
He saw the meteorites falling. I think that I will show you 10 meters far from him. Very near.
10 meters. Wow.
Yeah, 10 meters. Very near. Very near.
Yeah, that's very near.
Here I was here. I will show now. This is a TV reporter with him. Let me see if why is not working? Only a moment. What's happening? It's working.
There you go.
Here we go. This is.
A gente vai falar de um assunto importante, deixa eu só sentar aqui.
We show here what's happening.
A notícia de uma bola de fogo cruzando o céu.
He's saying that a fireball, everybody was talking about the fireball here in our region. After 1 week, he is a farmer, but he's not the owner of the farm. He works in the farm and lives in a very small house. And he will show.
O
This is the,
agricultor mostra
the,
a pedra que
the
encontrou
person
na pequena
that he
propriedade
found.
rural onde vive, no município de
The
Varriçai.
meteorite.
Beautiful. Look at that.
Para o
Chondrites.
astrônomo Marcelo Oliveira, presidente do Clube de Astronomia do Norte Fluminense, a rocha apresenta características de um meteorito.
Pela característica dele,
And
do meteorito, a forma
I
dele,
had the
a gente vê
opportunity
de
to
dentro,
meet him.
né, que ele tem uma
Soon he
característica
found
diferente da borda
he
dele,
announced
teve
that
contato
he
com a
found
atmosfera, da reentrada.
the
Então, tudo indica
meteorites,
que é um meteorito.
and it was a fantastic moment because the city where he lives only have 10,000 people living there. What he saw? He saw the lights in front of him,
Aí deu a explosão.
and then he saw an explosion, and then he saw something falling 10 meters far from him. And as it was dark, he was afraid here, where he found. Ali,
Wow.
near him. The other side here, where you see the banana there, the banana tree. And this was the hole, small hole, and he found there. But only in the other day, the next day, because in the same day he was afraid because he saw something coming from space. He was afraid it was IT, something like this. He waited the next day to look what fell.
Este será importante passo para a
A very simple person.
19 anos.
That is amazing. That is an amazing story, Marcelo.
Yes, it's fantastic. I think that you have a few people that saw a meteorite falling in front of him.
Right.
Sobre a formação do sistema solar e do
It's
universo.
interesting. It looks like it's
Para as pesquisas
you know, you
brasileiras.
can see the fusion crust all over it, but that one side you can see the stony interior.
Tentando localizar objeto
I
como
change
esse.
here. I'm trying to change the presentation, but it's not working.
Emocionado.
Here. Then you have many journalists that arrive here. You imagine a city with 10,000 people that lives there, very small city. All the hotels were full. They received the people from many countries of the world. His name, the person that found, is Germano. He gave interview for Japanese TVs, American TVs, European TVs, and the city are full of people trying to find the meteorites there. And here is the meteorite. Yeah, they know now as the Varriçai meteorite because it was found there. I think that you have few persons in the century because I think that from 20th century and 21st century, I think that you can count in our fingers the numbers of the people that saw a meteorite falling in front of them. And it was very near. It's something almost if I didn't talk with him, it was difficult to believe that this happened. Then he was very happy because I helped him to sell the meteorites because many people tried to get meteorites from him, and I said that he can get a lot of money with the meteorites if he wants to sell, and then with the money that he received, he bought a new house for him.
Oh, that's great. Money from heaven.
And he finished the interview saying that the luck for him came from the sky.
That's right.
And now the news is that I don't know if everybody knew about it. They discovered 2 new moons in Jupiter. Now Jupiter has 92 moons. It's a planet with more moons in the solar system.
92 moons.
92. Saturn has 83 now moons. Uranus 27, Neptune 14, and we're here with one. And Mars 2, and we with 1 moon. 92 moons in Jupiter. It's a lot of moons. Most of them are very small, but are moons. And again, we are the registration is open for our international meeting, né, in 27, 29 April. I hope all of you can visit us here, participate. You'll be very welcome here in Brazil. We have a place for everybody that's coming. You'll be very welcome here. Yeah.
Well, I just got my passport, so I can actually come now.
You could go.
You'll be very
go.
welcome. We have hotels here, every kind of logistic support. We meet you at the airport in Rio de Janeiro and bring you to our city. You'll be very welcome.
Adrian, they will take very, very good care of you. I've had this experience. It's wonderful.
I will begin to save my pennies now.
That's right. Wonderful.
And this is the magazine Skies Up. That is wonderful. This edition is fantastic.
Bravo, Marcelo.
And Cesar, Adrian, we are waiting your articles for the magazine. You'll be very welcome.
Yes. I like to collaborate, really. Yes. Maybe talking about techniques, telescope techniques, and setups.
Oh, fantastic. It'll be fantastic.
Yes, optics.
Yep, I have some ideas to put to pen, and we'll have to send a couple your way. So I will be doing some writing this year. I want to do more writing and sharing of the experiences I've had running around the state of Michigan and beyond, trying to, the theme that I settled on, chasing dark skies. I'm kind of using that theme as a kind of a calling card for the type of landscape photography I like to do.
It'll be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott, for the
Thank
invitation.
you, Marcelo. Thank you. That's great. Well, Cesar. Hey, John. Cesar, are you imaging right now? Do you have something?
Yes, absolutely. I'm imaging in black and white because I'm using this camera. I was the first thing that I am ever in danger because my idea to make a live image are a little crazy in a show. I think I expect that the people can pardon me my is a live image, and sometimes the things are in a way where not all function very well. The first thing that is very important for a setup in summer, it's something that unexpected for the people, because you are thinking all time in you in winter, okay? You in summer, you normally forget totally the problem of the dew in the optics or in the sensor of cameras in summer, because summer normally is hot weather, dry. But something that I experiment tonight is that I used the air conditioner of my apartment very high, very strong, very cold. All my equipment was very, very cold. When I get outside to the balcony tonight, it's a very, very warm and humid night. And the first problem that I had is that my refractor optics was totally fogged because condensed, because it was cold, and and I forget totally the situation, because you never expect this in summer, okay? And when you have this problem, I was lucky to have another tube to change in the mount over my EXUS 100. And of course, here I show you the setup of my EXUS 100. That is my mount, and something tonight, well, of course, that I changed my refractor to 80 millimeters to this naturographic 4.5 inches or 114 millimeters with a focal razor of 4.38. And this is work very well for tonight because I have the problem of condensation, but in the opposite of winter. In winter, you go to the humid and cold night from inside and condense it all over your
optics and your tube.
About the dew point of the night. But tonight I received the reserve thing. All my equipment was very cold. When I go outside, okay, I condensed a lot of humid over the sensor, the tube, and the optics. But now I can show you. Now you can see now.
Yes.
Yes, we can. The beginnings of the Orion Nebula.
Orion Nebula, yes. I am talking pictures of only 8 seconds. I'm using a planetary camera. Today, in these times, the planetary cameras normally have a big size of pixel and are more sensitive, and most of the cameras work very well for nebulas, especially in these short tubes. And this is very, very good because have a function much better than a cell phone. Is more easy to use, are cheaper, have an excellent utilities for guiding, for the people that make guiding, for nebulas, live view of nebulas in your computer, or to make, of course, planetary image. And this is very interesting because you have in cheaper cameras in the market, you have a lot of different cameras, and you have the opportunity to have a small observatory without a reflex camera, very light, with a opportunity to make from the city, or of course, much better if you are in the rural farm areas or dark sky areas. You have the opportunity to make good pictures. For example, with this, I took it in black and white now, but maybe I can show you next week how I can process these pictures, and we can get a beautiful color image of Orion Nebula. In another way, something that tonight is the premiere for me. Look that, people. Is the beta version for cell phones to drive the EXUS mounts with PSM mounts, and I'm really happy because works very, very well. I'm impressive with the beta version because works. It's very, very intuitive, very easy to use, work perfectly in my cell phone. My cell phone is a medium level Android cell phone and work properly without glitches, without problems. And it's something, sorry, that I don't know if you can see this.
Yes,
I
I can
was
see.
sharing. Yes, I was sharing the screen, but I don't know if you can see the.
We can see it.
Yes, I'm really happy. If this is the beta version, I think that this is great. It's easy to use. Very, very, as I tell you, very sensitive, intuitive. Really, it's a part of the setup. Very interesting because it's so handy, your cell phone. I started to use the Wi-Fi version, not yet the Bluetooth version or the but I'm happy, really, really. And this is something that it's a very important part of the setup. Really, the possibility to make something like a nebula from the city to show to the people. Next week I was in the beach area of Buenos Aires. Same image of Orion that I showed you tonight was incredible, like a picture. Each frame was like a amazing picture of Orion. Wow. Because it was a very low polluted area in a farm area near to the beach, very nice. And another family that came with us in the house, the kids was totally amazed. First of all, I showed with the same telescope, with the eyepiece here, they say, okay, it's great. And when you show a nebula for a kid or for a first viewer of watcher of the sky, the first view of a nebula, you need to explain. You need to explain that you can see something like a ghost, like a between the stars, like a cloud, something cloudy between the stars. You need to explain, and the people say, okay, but when you show in a screen the same nebula, they told me, come on, I can't believe that. It's incredible. And this is very important. And, this is all set up that you need. The mount, tripod, and a small tube, very small tube, with a camera or with your eyepiece. And come on, the sky here is, that is impossible, this sky.
You do a lot of astrophotography in the impossible, though.
Yes. Mostly, yes. Mostly of our astrophotographies are from here, from the city. And when you finish the pictures, I know that most of times I use pics inside or serial to make. Maybe you need more work to finish your picture, to process your picture, but
yes,
it's something that is great because the final results in your city, I say, come on, I can see, maybe now I can count maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, maybe in the part of the sky that I can see maybe 15 stars tonight. No more than 15 stars. And it's something that, it's something, yes. And maybe one time I take a measure of the level of in Bordeaux sky and was 9.3, another time was 9.2, 9.5, 9.5, all times over 9.
That is wonderful. Well, Cesar, thank you for sharing your rooftop astronomy with us, and
Pleasure.
I look forward to seeing the final processed image of that Orion Nebula.
Absolutely. Yes. Next week, I'll show you the final process.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Okay. Okay. So, Adrian, you are up.
Yep. And I'm ready.
And you're ready.
Yep. I put together, because the theme that we have is falling stars. So I modified my
I just can't get over that that guy saw a meteor fall 30 feet away from him. Okay.
Yeah, and then just walked over and picked
picked that thing up.
I wonder if one of those nights I would get that opportunity.
Yeah.
To see, because I'd be more worried about it hitting something, and it's coming down.
They've hit cars and people.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty fast. So it's I want it to be a fun occasion, not take this picture right here. If it's not moving at all in the sky and it's just getting brighter, then you go, okay, this might be something coming to me. And then you finally see the streak and it splashes down in the water. Do I go try and find it and get it, or do I just call somebody and say, hey, there's a meteor over here, and wait for the more meteor hunters?
I think I personally would go and find it. Whether or not I got to keep it, that's a different story. But I would like to be the guy that I'd like to try to get it.
It would be it'd be interesting. You go into this murky water and
that might be that could be
that might be prohibitive, but it
might be cold.
Yeah, depending on the time. I think this is obviously there were still thunderstorms going on, and I'll explain the luck of the image. I like using my initial slide for chasing dark skies and adapting it to if we have a different theme where the word dark skies may not quite fit, but I'm still chasing something. And in this episode of Chasing Dark Skies, we're chasing meteors, so falling stars. So I am going to focus primarily on capturing them. We've had explanations of what meteors are, the meteorites that can sometimes hit Earth, sometimes 30 kilometers. What was it, Scott? 30 meters? Not very far from.
Yeah, it's.
There was a gentleman.
Yeah,
he saw it come down.
Said, 10 meters. Anyways,
10 meters. Yeah, he walked over, picked it up, and made the news. And so my focus is going to be if I want to take an image of a meteor, during meteor showers, a lot of folks will tell me, make sure you capture images of meteors. Well, that can be easier said than done, but it is possible. Now, the story behind this meteor, where you get really lucky, you just happen to see, and to this day, I think this is the brightest meteor that I've captured on digital, and it's early on in my Milky Way imaging. I caught the meteor, but first I saw one go under the Cygnus region. I was looking at the Cygnus region. I was imaging towards the Cygnus region, and the frame that I imaged was just above where the meteor streaked across the sky. So frustrated because I didn't capture it that time, I simply turned the camera back towards the core, the galactic center here, and just started firing a few more shots. And a gentleman that was with me says, wait, did you see that meteor that was in the sky? And I go, where was it? And I think I heard my camera stop the exposure. And he pointed towards the area where my camera was. When I looked at the back of my camera to see what I had, I saw that bright streak next to the Milky Way. So in that instance, I simply got really lucky because I didn't plan on shooting. This was it was July of, I want to say 2018 or 2019. And I do believe Perseids or Aquarids, one of those meteors, and in most likely Perseid. It was rather bright. And now, if you go to a dark site, this is Kenton, Oklahoma, where you can see the zodiacal light. If you go in September, during fall, and you can see the zodiacal light making an X with the Orion side of the Milky Way. Interestingly enough, we learned earlier during Global Star Party about the southern half. Now, if you can imagine, this is Sirius, which was visible in New Zealand. If you go, and this is 37 north, if you go about equidistant, you would see Canopus through the ground. And if you go about equidistant to where Orion is in this picture, on that side, you would begin to see the Magellanic Clouds. But you would be staring directly through the ground in order to see those. But in this image, you can see I've got a couple of streaks here. Now, I don't know whether or not this is a plane. I'll explain, planes and, do you have a meteor? Sometimes you're not sure if you caught a meteor, but if you look at this one where it's brighter in this part of the line and then dimmer here, that's a sure telltale sign that you have a meteor in your photo. And when you go to a dark site, you have a better chance of catching a meteor. All of these streaks over here, I would say, are satellites, and this looks to be a plane. Color streaks with color in them are often the lights of planes that are flying.
Our dashed lines too,
Yeah, and if you get dashed lines.
Yeah.
So, so this image turns out, before I put it here, turns out it's some of everything: satellites, planes, and meteors. When you're in a place that's dark, and you do this sort of wide angle nightscape, you contend with all three all the time. Now, when you're imaging during a meteor shower and you see the meteors streaking, one after another as you're imaging, then even if you've got a straight line like this, if you saw it streak across the sky and disappear, then you know that you captured a meteor. It may not look quite like a meteor if someone wasn't there, but rest assured it is. And here's a rare case where you've got like two streaks parallel to each other. Again, it was a Perseids. This zone is a high Bortle 4 zone in Alcona County, and we retreated. A friend of mine, Dr. Brian Adam, which Scott, I'd love to have do one of his presentations on this show. I'll have to talk to you about bringing him on.
Sure.
And he was there with me. We just sat and observed, and we had our cameras going. He did a time lapse, and of course I did stills. And in all the stills, I got a lot of streaks from the meteors going through. So it was amazing to watch, and it's also easier to capture these streaks in your photos if you're setting your camera to go and you're doing during a very busy meteor shower. Chances are a lot higher that you're going to catch something. But if you're in someplace dark, I just noticed that if you're not looking for the meteors, every one or two, you get one or two meteors every half hour to an hour. They streak across the sky when you least expect it. If you're looking for a meteor, chances are you will look into place and the meteor will streak behind you. Then you'll turn around because someone will say, "Ooh, a meteor," and then you'll turn around and then another one will streak in the location where you were looking. So meteors are best just seen. Focus on one spot in the sky if you're going to do it visually. Focus on one spot in the sky near the radiant of if it's a meteor shower, and you should see them. If you want to image them, aim the camera there, and you should get a meteor. So as this slide shows, some objects streaking through the sky just aren't meteors. So here's another one of my, based on the motivational posters, Scott, where you've got so satellites, and I do believe it's misspelled. It should be 1T, but they are everywhere. And if you notice where I put the words, you've got satellites.
You got satellites everywhere.
Geosynchronous.
Yep. There's a geosynchronous one. I think they're all geosynchronous. Well,
those are dotted line ones, right? When you get the geosynchronous, it's dotted.
They're either dotted. I thought they were
ones
straight
that
like
are,
this.
at least they're rotating, so they're reflecting sunlight.
Got it.
Like they're turning
They're
on and
spinning
off.
through space.
Like this one.
Cool.
And they are basically the line is as long as your exposure. If you take a longer exposure, the geosynchronous satellites become longer in streaks in your
I think they can get
sky.
that with the Pixel Insight might have
Well,
something.
you can take a whole lot of images and stack, and
Right.
the stacking software will get rid of, because those don't show up in all of your images. So it'll basically remove those streaks from your final image. But this is a single image.
That's
believe
really
it or
good.
not. And the places where it's dark, your camera and a large 400 millimeter lens might be enough to get decent photos, and it's also enough to get satellites. Well, what about widescapes like this? Oh, you've got southwest bound, whichever flight this is, leaving a trail. There's the dashed lines, and as it turns in our point of view, the solid line ends up showing more towards us, and your beautiful Milky Way photo gets interrupted or photobombed. So what do? You either take another one, which I won't show in this image, or in this presentation, but you can just, actually I can, or maybe not. Let me see if I do this somewhere. So all the pictures, these are online. It's my gallery.
Yeah, I love that moon one. I brought mine in tonight. I found it.
The
one that looks like yours. Stop at that again on the way out. I want to show you.
Yeah, we'll do that. So here I am sidetracking my presentation by looking for my Oklahoma stuff. Okay, here we go. So a tale of two pictures. Here's that picture again, and you see the plane went through it. So what did I do? I took another exposure, and now no plane.
Nice.
But this isn't the same image processed. It's just another image. So that's the answer to planes sometimes, is to just take another image. And there you go.
I would just paint them out.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes a pure image is one that you don't have to do any editing on.
Yeah,
it's there's something still. There's a streak right here, but it's that this could be an artifact that from the noise reduction and things like that. So let's go back to the presentation. Here's another thing. This may be the plane.
Are those lightning bugs?
Those are lightning bugs.
Oh,
isn't that cool?
That is.
Those are everywhere.
Yeah, lightning bugs are everywhere.
I'm going to do my lightning bug picture one of these days.
Yeah, a lot of people love the picture. I think almost more so for the lightning bugs.
Is
than
that
they
your
do.
home or Nebraska?
This is not Nebraska. This is near my home in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Wow.
When there was this thing in the sky that it was predicted to be underwhelming back in 2020, but then it got brighter and brighter and brighter, and it never received a name other than just the name of the sky survey that found it. It was known as Comet Neowise, and it got bright enough to easily image. The green comet, according to media outlets, you almost thought you'd see a repeat of this, but instead, it would be more like one of those. It'd be a faint. This dot right here, that faint fuzzy dot, or even better, this faint fuzzy dot.
Was that a smaller?
Well, this is not an actual comet,
right?
But it's as close to the appearance of the green comet in a sky just like this.
Yeah.
So for comparison, the green comet appeared in nightscapes about this faint, maybe even fainter, whereas Neowise was rather bright and very easy to spot. So, am I taking shots at, like Scott said, and I like how you put it, Scott, the talk around the comet got a lot of people to want to go outside, to want to look up, as seasoned amateur astronomers,
it wasn't an easy. It was tough,
it was not
right?
an easy. Yeah, but we were always ready to temper expectations. But we do like the enthusiasm that people went after trying to see this green comet. And unfortunately, I think it caused a fervor that just sort of had people forget that we, just 3 years ago, we had a beautiful comet in the sky. Maybe not to the level of Hale-Bopp, which was visible in the daytime. Comet Hyakutake was visible.
Hyakutake.
Hyakutake, thank you.
Hyakutake. Yes.
Yeah.
I know, I called it Hyakutake too.
That was the best comet ever. It went all the way across the sky.
Yeah, I pronounced it the way America pronounces it.
America.
So it's Hyakutake. I'm going to try and put that in.
What about Holmes? Holmes turned out.
I had heard about Comet Holmes. It was a good comet. Hale-Bopp rings in my mind because I was on a plane flight and got a chance to see Hale-Bopp above this, high up above, the ground. So I saw the tail go. That tail extended from horizon to horizon. But
how about the
saw
bow shock? The bow shock wave, was that amazing up there?
It was. I mean, the full view of the comet was there on display. I don't remember seeing the ion tail naked eye. I'm pretty sure it was there, and I'm pretty sure had I been into night photography, I would have had a picture to show everybody what I saw, but it remains in my memory. But I do have a picture of this, which is one of these is more rare to catch, I believe. Now, unless you know what you're doing about thunderstorms.
Sprites?
Sprites. And I think I have one in a picture. It's just a real small one. But just the lightning itself. The sprites are even, you're right, the sprites are even more rare. All of them are harder to capture than meteors, but capturing them at the same time can be very difficult.
How long of an exposure is that? That looks like an atomic bomb went off that cloud.
It's a 30-second exposure. There was lots of
lightning, though, right?
That's a lot.
And then you
lot
got
of power.
Yep. And then you happen to have a streaking meteor at the time that I took this exposure. So, and then you can tell it's a meteor just by the way it brightens and then dims again as it goes down. So you got a meteor, you got this lightning bolt, distant storm. Had I taken a less noisier shot, I don't know that I could do much better. I do have the image data, and I may play around now that I know how to mask and bring up this. If I have enough data here, I could actually have a little detail in those trees as well. So this is an image I may go back and play around with. Now, this was my final slide, where basically keep taking images and get lucky. I didn't know that meteor was coming. This, I believe, a plane or a satellite, and during the exposure, the line curved, and I think it's just point of view where the plane, or in this case, was it the ISS? Probably not, because this is south. I forgot to include in this presentation a picture where the ISS shows up. It's just a streak.
Right.
But sometimes you're more lucky with your imaging than good, because you set the camera to go. It's dusk still. This is nautical twilight heading to astronomical twilight. I started the camera going for the 30-second exposure. I turned around to look toward the north. And when I heard the click, I turned around and I saw that this bright meteor had come right through the core. I also noticed there's some streaks. There's a streak here too. So, is there a chance there's were there any other meteors? Was it, satellites going through? This bright one was a no doubter. And it was on the anniversary of the passing of one of our lowbrow friends, John Coslin, a year to the day that I stood out there. And so I looked up to the sky and I said, John, if you're out there, if you could send a meteor, that would be great, so that I could have a copy. I wanted to catch a meteor in one of my images. And I forget how long between just asking and then turning around, and seems like it was a couple of images that I took, and like just 2 images after I asked, that I ended up catching that meteor. So that one's named after John Coslin. Now, what I didn't capture but enjoyed seeing, a fireball streaks across the sky not long after this, just straight in the sky, where it is like you saw, it was a huge streak. Wasn't as big as the one that Marcello's friend found, but that came all the way to the earth. But it was a very impressive fireball. And I said, well, that one was just for me to see. I caught something on camera, so I'm happy with what I got. The fact that I didn't, capture this huge bright one. Sometimes it's just fun to see those meteors. As we get into meteor season, Professor Karim Jaffer showed you all of the times and the meteor showers. And so there will be plenty of opportunity to try and catch these streaks. They may move fast. They may be faint. I have pictures of meteors that I captured that were faint within the plane of the Milky Way, or just somewhere else I was imaging. And
is it cold out there?
It is not according. 36 is not cold.
No,
we're in a heat wave. When I took that picture, it wasn't cold. But when like right now, trying to go outside, last week we were routinely in the single digits. Of course, we're opposite of you, Cesar, because you're turning on air conditioning, we're turning on the heat, and we're bundling up. So we will be switching again here soon, though. This is February, and in March we're going to start.
Yeah, the humidity
we're going to
is
start
brutal.
we're going to start switching up again, and then you all will get the Milky Way high overhead, and we're going to be seeing you with jackets. We're going to have jackets on, and you'll still be out there. It'll be cold and windy, and you'll still go out. You'll still be imaging, which true astronomer. Yeah. So
the cold
looking
helps
forward to that
camera, right? Doesn't it help?
Yes, thermal noise, which
right.
for the most part, the astro-cooled cameras, they always run at 0. If you're running at 0 Celsius, so you're out there imaging, your camera doesn't emit as much thermal noise. It will after time. It'll still get warm. The more frigid it is, at least that thermal noise, but you still have to expose properly and you still got to get focused, but at least one source of noise doesn't go in, you can eliminate that as far as your imaging. Nice. But then you got to keep your fingers and toes warm too. So there's some trade-offs. So that's it, Scott.
Okay.
Don't forget your moon, Adrian.
Oh yeah,
Adrian,
I promised I would
how
show
close mine is. I mean, yours is definitely better, but this was an old shot.
Well, you know what? I'm going to share Okay, share screen.
Look at John there. He's like in the cosmos.
Well, I talked to a few people.
So here's a moon I didn't show earlier. I was able to get
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's man. What a shimmer.
Yep. Now this was the
oh man.
But you notice this is a typical way to shoot the moon, a single shot. You gotta be, you lay your camera down on the rocks on a rocky beach and you fire right at the moon. You get this wonderful shot, and you get things that are out of focus here in the sky, and it's still a beautiful mood shot. You say, I want the moon to be in focus. Well, this is a composite image. This is 2 images, slapped together and processed together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Nice work.
And then, but the immaculate shot, now this one is just, this is what happens.
Oh yeah, look at the earth shine on that.
Yep, you expose for the earth shine, you get some stars, and you try to make it a
that's beautiful. I love
painting.
that.
This is something you would draw,
that
John,
shape,
something like that.
Very
I think
familiar.
There's astrophysicist Dr. Becky Smethers from the UK, who tells her followers, send me your toenail moon pictures. I sent her this one and she loved it. But the immaculate picture, this one didn't come out as good as I would like, but it was
cool.
close.
The contrail.
Yeah,
so
if I were to put the contrail in front of the moon, it would have been even more realistic. But I went for, I did get some detail here, and I wanted to go for, what did I see when I was standing up, overlooking this lake here? And
it's hard to replicate Mother Nature's beautiful work. I mean,
absolutely is.
The certain glow
which
to
is
it, and, the clouds passing through it. It really takes a lot of practice for me. There it is. There's the moon.
This is the one that you're talking.
Right, dude. I swear these are identical. You are gonna trip. That is amazing.
We can if we want to. So now you're seeing a picture of the moon with the clouds coming
in
over
front, right
in front, and now you're about to see what someone can do when they draw the image. So John, with your
nice turnover. Thank you.
I'll turn it over to John if he's got that copy of the image I just showed, but the drawn version of it. I am curious to see how it turned out.
So yes, I'm in the cosmos this evening. I had a little time to get ready. So
You were on mute, Scott.
Yeah, I was. I said I think that both of you are drawn to the universe.
There's
sorry guys.
That might
sorry
be
to the audience too. Sorry.
That might be a title for one of the upcoming GSPs. Drawn to the universe.
Drawn to the universe. That's right.
There's a bright planetoid off to my. That's why I'm getting the cool illumination. It's out of the field of view, but and then I'm sitting by my nice warm area so I can present.
There you go.
But anyway, so let's start it up. Tonight I have a couple, photos from different things that I took, but I also have cell phone photos. Okay, hang on. So how is everything out there? Very nice in your neck of the woods?
Raining. It's been raining all day.
Wow.
All day. We just had, quite a bit of ice,
Oh yeah.
down, and then we had some warm nights. It was last night. It was, after being, in the 20s or even below 20, it was 61 degrees. So this giant temperature swing, and all the snow melted. It saturated the ground, and so I thought, okay, well, if it stays clear for a while, it's going to be out. It's like a copy. Look at this.
That's exactly like.
I think you and Adrian are like.
I don't know, man.
What is mind melding or something? That's awesome.
The Vulcans were very inquisitive, but so yeah, that was why I was like amazed. Because it was so close to yours. It's like we had the same.
We had the same idea.
Yeah, I saw the
I wish we could share screens at the same time, because
if you send me a pic, I have share screen.
Yeah,
that's what's nice about the iPad is it allows you. So that was a cool picture though, and I did a couple drawings from that session. My son had told me, "Dad, you got to go out and look," and I ran out and I was like blown away. I mean, now that the weather's cleared here, I just wanted to show you this one I put together. Oh wait, wrong one.
All right. Sorry. It's still a good one.
Not really. I didn't clip it. I combined my photos for that one, but I'm getting better.
So here's some nice comments here. Some comments. Cody was talking about the lightning shot, Adrian. They said it's APOD worthy. Beautiful images, Adrian. Masterful nightscape photography. Yo,
thank you.
Adrian, sorry, I couldn't resist. Every evening.
I get that once every couple months.
So this is a composite of my daytime moon sketch, and then the weather cleared, so I added my rainbow because it was for hope that we'll get good clear skies and good seeing again.
And it seems to have worked.
Really, for you guys too?
Yeah, we
awesome.
Yeah, I was surprised to walk home and see the winter hexagon, and it was supposed to be cloudy all day. But really quick, what is your email address? I'm sending you the photo so you can.
Okay, it's starcrusader@gmail.com. That's STARKRU S8.
That's why it didn't come out.
S8
8
digit R.
Yeah,
8 S and number 8.
And R.
So starcrusader at gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
All right, looks like it found you.
Beautiful. So I
called
would
Green
also
Clouds.
With all these cameras and stuff, the old-fashioned pinhole camera will never let you down. This was a drawing I did of the sun with my handmade pinhole camera.
There you go.
So when you have a solar eclipse.
Oh yeah, that's what I
look at that.
Solar
That's
eclipse.
beautiful.
I'll explain the drawing here so you can see the texture, right? That was actually when I was gessoing it, like dirt. My dog kicked dirt into my thing, and I was like, oh man. And then it was like, wait a minute, this could be like concrete. So I just painted in around the chunks of rock and added a little, and then I did my painting. So this was really actually the view of my hand, and then I put the cool and the warm, you know, hue on each side to give it a little feel like a chromatic aberration, you know, which and I did it on the sun too. But you know, that was a comet. They said, oh yeah, you won't see much here. And then when you look in the shadows of the trees, you see millions of solar discs, you know, little comets or eclipses. Comas, because you see that through the trees. Then I ran and got my scope, but at first I just did this using my cell phone, you know, to capture it so I could work off of it.
I like it
because I can't paint with one hand, you know. Maybe I could, but you don't want to get stuff on your canvas, you know, like all the artists have a little stick with a little ball that they rest their arm. And with digital painting, you can have the same issues. So let's move forward. I wanted to share a few cell phone snapshots. Now, these are some amazing shots, to say the least, that you could even get this. These are with probably the most latest Android phones. And then the iPhones work as well, too. So let's go with number one will be the Dumbbell Nebula through the 30-inch at Mount Pinos. Cell phone snapshot.
Nice. Cell phone snapshot.
Yes, it is.
30 inches of aperture. So you're already pulling a lot of light. 32.
Oh, that's super.
Yeah, that's a wonderful. I see. That's a wonderful combination.
Look at how sharp and that track. It was a perfect picture. That's what that 32, the extra light, really pulls these nebulas in. And the cell phone thing's amazing. We had a group of people up there, like a star party of people that showed up.
Yeah.
And so I started showing I knew what I had to do. Right away, I was on call. So I had to entertain the star party because that's what we do. When people want to look, we want to share the views. And I had some people seeing actually both stars in the Ring Nebula. This is a mom with two boys that never even saw the Ring Nebula. So when he yelled out, the kid, I see two stars, I was like, oh, this is a good night, you know. And then I had everybody doing their cell phones. Gave them a little seminar in the dark, and everybody was taking pictures, and they were coming up to me and showing me how great. And I was so happy to be able to, you know, share with everybody. And, you know, this is our quick location. I'll show you. That's where we were at Mount Pinos.
Nice.
That's a general star party looking at the Milky Way.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a guy that was sitting next to me. You can actually, I think, see me next in the background, but that's my 28, and you can see how tall it is. But it's a great spot, you know, Mount Pinos. That's our proving grounds, I call it, our best seeing, almost 9,000 feet. Then moving forward, this is the Eagle taken through the same 32-inch telescope. And this one is a stunner, to say the least. Cell phone snapshot.
You got all of that.
That is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's...
So everybody pretty much has an Astro camera in their pocket these days.
Yeah,
and
all you need is 32 inches of aperture.
Well, even the 28, and then, you know, some of these have like the pro part of it, and you can do up to, I think, 30-second exposures. I mean, it's amazing. So if you can play with the ISO setting and the other settings, you know, then you can get a pretty decent image. But that's pretty good, right, for a cell phone?
Oh, that's excellent for
shot.
I guess it speaks to the cell phone is capturing what's in front of it, and all of that light bouncing off of that 28-inch mirror. I would have been curious if Orion at that time you were shooting at the galactic center, so Orion wouldn't be up to go see what you could do with some of those dark nebula, Thor's helmet, going after the horse head. I'd be curious to see cell phone shots of those, because I'll bet you could pull those off.
Yeah, that takes a lot more work. You have to, with the cell phone, you have to make sure it's really, and a lot of these, I just held it there. So I might try for like an hour sometimes to get a perfect shot. And you're on the ladder and my legs. I mean, one time I literally got like a Charlie horse and I could barely walk. And everybody's, John, are you okay? I'm like, I just need a minute to sit down, because it's up and down the ladder all night long. And when you're fixed on those photons, you don't budge. You're like, you don't want to share. It's so good, but you have to, So this is, I started this looking through my 28 and using the 32-inch. And then we were blessed again for another trip to Wilson. Scott, thank you. So, and I had a couple more, but I was able to tease out a little bit more detail, and I added those like inner rings. Yeah. And there's a little creative mind at work there too. I kind of try to make them look like you're actually there. And, with the Cat's Eye Nebula, there's a nebula surrounding the core nebula. And in those long exposure photographs, it really comes out as this like huge explosion that rock, way further out that your eye can't see because you don't see in that wavelength of light. But even when you look at it in the 28 or the 32, it looks like hazy almost. And that's that outer cloud you're peering through. Mm-hmm. So you get that, you really need good seeing for it to open up, or a 60-inch telescope for that matter.
And 60 inches with good seeing is even better.
Oh yeah. If you get one of those,
if you can, you got to build yourself a space telescope. Just launch it.
Yeah. Well,
get someone to fund it and get it up there, and try not
the night vision will help. It's real time. I just love the moon and the clouds. Let me just segue fast just to get these off so I don't lag here. Got to watch this button pusher. I'm getting better at this thing, I have to say. Mm-hmm. It takes a little bit of work, but this was like one of my first real cell phone creations from, I painted this whole thing from scratch pretty much.
Oh, that's pretty.
It reminds me of one of my airbrush projects in college, the way it has that feel. And that's the beauty of digital. This is done
like that monochromatic
look. Yeah,
this is
and that's my cell phone Samsung photo editor. That's what I paint with. Mm-hmm. And the hours to get it smooth like that. Like when I first was doing them, I can't see real good and I'm still fighting glasses, but I'll send pictures and then I'll see them zoomed in and I'll go, oh no, there's like marks that I didn't. So this, I made sure, the Milky Way was fun. It was very easy to paint that, Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one, like if you're up in the plane, you would see something like that, or in the mountains, I just wanted to show that. I like that one.
It was a beautiful shot.
It was a pivotal moment for my cell phone, artwork.
Cell phone artistry. Yep.
And another good thing is like constellation stuff we do. And each constellation has, iconic guy or woman or a lion or, whatever it is. But animal. I did a fun one from this. This is called the Sword of Orion. Very proud of this one too. Love it. Let me see.
That's cool.
So you see the sword.
I see what you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of that winged area became the
handles, the protectors. Right. Yep. And it was just a wonderful, it took me a while to get it just right, but I was able to do it. I thought it was a cool idea and it's fun.
Oh, it is. That is a very unique way to do it.
I'll have to call Dark
probably the
Canyon.
first time. Yeah, I think it's the first time I've actually seen that depicted as a sword, an actual sword.
Well, I mean, I know it's usually the constellation, but I just changed it up a little, something a little fresh.
That's very unique.
A little
You
different.
saw mine. If you saw my presentation, I had the sword the way that we look at it, which is
right.
It's just the nebula that are part of it. So
I've painted Orion so many times that I'm actually kind of getting better at it. I really liked your Running Man. You could see the Running Man in there quite detailed. It was very good. So let me flash back to this one. So this was the Frankenstein one. I'm still working on it. We saw it last time, but it's a pretty cool idea. I mean, when I'm finished, I'm going to tell you, it's going to look amazing. But again, so the top part of that was the cell phone. So I used all three images, and I used mine as the middle, and then the outer body was done with the 32. So it's Frankenstein into it's just amazing.
A beautiful composite
dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, it really, my 28 is extremely sharp. If you look at the detail on that, and I got a little carried away on some of the processing and a little bit of the painting that I did, over painting, but and that's my dog Bosco, the little one. He's always in the pictures.
That's
my little buddy.
That's very creative.
Well,
from what I understand, your dog, the nebula that you used your dog to be a part of, is actually the closer one and not the one with the crop of hair. I always thought that tallest one kind of had the shape of a horse's head as well. But what I understand is that your dog Bosco is actually the closest pillar to us, even though optically it just sort of looks like the other one is. So I always found that fascinating.
This is another Mount Wilson
drawing. Blue snowball.
The blue snowball, which it has a greenish hue too. Even a 60-inch, that's an amazing amount of detail. I don't think our seeing was that good. Again, this is sketched. This particular one is done using the cell phone snapshot. And, sometimes you can get some good result just raw from the scope, but usually it's going to take a lot of work on some of them. And then others, I just repaint. Now that I have the Procreate, it's such a fine, ability to paint thin lines and different effects. And I'm just learning now how to use it. But, I mean, I'll be able to paint some amazing stuff with this that doesn't even look like it's not a photograph. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to tell.
Right.
And it takes a lot of time. And then, also when you're studying these things and trying to tease out the detail, you use your averted vision a lot. You try to just remember those points where it is. If you can keep it in your head, which I can do pretty good, at least till I get to my phone, and then I can start sketching on there and getting, the little shapes, like the sides, those two little side things, those were prominent, maybe not quite as popped out as that, but I always like to go a little further as if you're there. And, I got maybe
those nuances, the shading and just the effect of it, where it looks like it's glowing,
Yeah, and the digital.
That's hard. That's got to be hard to do.
It's a lot easier when you have, tools that you have to be able to do that with. And that's what I do. I use the tools and the paint tools. I think I showed you this one already.
Yep, last week. But for those, this is a good one for those that weren't here last week to just realize that this is drawn using your digital tools, but it's still very impressive.
I mean, there's a lot of dots there, and it's pretty close. Basically, you start with, the brighter stars. You want to get the layout and get everything like the marker stars set up. And then it's just kind of a random thing. I mean, it's not exact, but the stars that are there that are supposed to be there give it the feel that it is exact,
Mm-hmm.
I downloaded
that one's my favorite. It really is.
Well, I put I was organizing some, and I put M2. I have another one an M15 that I wanted to show you, but I don't know why they didn't upload to here. Wait, maybe that's it. No, let's see this one.
If you don't see them, they'll be great for next week's star party when we. What was the theme that we came up
there
with?
It is. There's M15.
So it's just like when I see it in the eyepiece.
Nice.
This one was done through the 24 from Fraser Park, and it was cold.
Yeah, but I'm sure it was worth it.
You know how 15 has that dense core? It kind of looks almost pinkish or purple. Is trying to show that it's warm. It has a warm feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the showpiece globs are like M13, M5, M15, M2, M3, M53. These are, the ones you want to look at that are really good.
I would love to see you draw a 47 Tucane. You want an impressive globular cluster. I wish to see that naked eye or just with binoculars.
That's M2.
Yes, 47 Tucana here is one of the most beautiful global cluster.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was there in Chile.
Yeah.
I went
to you had a chance to see that. Yeah.
Yes, and I got greedy. I wanted Omega to come higher up because I wanted to see it straight up. Like I saw it in the morning, and it was getting light out and I could still see it. I was upset because I had to go fishing and I didn't want to blow the trip. So I had to go to sleep. But I got 47 in my UP12. I brought it.
Oh, nice.
And I had the Hubble optic UP12, the transport one. And I'm going to say is better than any globular I've seen from here through my 28. It literally in a 12-inch is like what we see here through a real big job. It's just spectacular. And the sky there, the tarantula, the coal sack, the Magellanic clouds, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the southern jewel box, wow, that is a beautiful cluster. I mean, I feel like I've got a half a life waiting for me if I can just get out there and live there or stay there for a month or two, with the best seeing around and the Chilean beef and the bread from Argentina. I mean, we could make sandwiches and view all night for days.
Yeah.
I think you're speaking Cesar's language.
Ever you are invited. I can make a barbecue for everyone. No problem.
What about vegetarians?
No problem.
I think that
my daughter is vegetarian.
Okay.
In my family.
Okay. All right.
But when you have these crazy people that are vegetarian, no problem, because you can do with the barbecue different things, different vegetables, and you say, okay, people, you have vegetables in the barbecue, normal.
Yeah, the grilled vegetables.
Normal people, you have meat in the barbecue.
Well,
listen, here, I'll make the disclaimer for you, Scott. Global Star Party does not necessarily have the same opinions, no matter how true they may be.
Opinions may vary.
Opinions are allowed to vary. As variable as the stars that we like to look at in the sky.
Yes, there's no problem.
I'm with Cesar, so
for vegetarians,
that's just how
I can put a lot of vegetarian vegetables in the barbecue that are beautiful flavors. In the barbecue. And of course we are making our next star party is in April in San Rafael, Mendoza. It's a star party that maybe next week I can present all that we are organizing for this, and I can show you and send you invitations because it's a special occasions where we okay. Do you have
Getting ready to travel?
Ready? Yes, and I'll as we are attending for April, I think that is 15, 16, and 17. It's in the middle of the month of April, and we are working a lot. I am happy because today Jaime Garcia that have their small observatories in their own vineyard. He have a vineyard. Sorry. Today he can put in functions his new Exos 2 GT with a 11 inches fiber carbon Schmidt-Cassegrain Celestron telescope, Scott. Work much better than with the older mount. He started to work with this in her Xiaomi cell phone and work properly too. And was something fun because he told me, the beta version for cell phone work really good. And do you have the no, please. Where is? Say okay. He told me yes. He sent me the link, and I'm download the application for my cell phone. I started tonight to use, and he's working with variable stars, and he are using in his observatory one of the principal mounts. It's the Exos 2 GT.
Wonderful.
Yes, and this is the same place where we will make the star party this year.
So you guys can have a barbecue as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Right, and the vegetables. So, what is your hometown? So I say Chilean beef because they're known for that, and then in Argentina they have the most wonderful bread that I've ever tasted. It was unbelievable.
Mostly of meat producers with cows, are in the farm areas. Exists a really huge tradition of production, genetic mix, between cows. That is incredible. Because when you choose, actually, I eat meat.
Yes.
In Argentina, maybe you
we have learned
more than a little of salt because it is every week you can buy in the market different flavors of different cows or different producers, and this is incredible. Something that, but of course that. I don't eat meat all the time.
I do.
Yeah, sometimes you're sleeping.
No,
sometimes you're sleeping.
No,
astronomy.
Sure.
And carnivore.
I'm kidding.
I always.
I know you don't.
I'm going to sign off. Well, Cesar.
Adrian.
I would love to talk to you more about the meat.
I'm waiting for you.
Yeah. We will go shopping for the meat.
That won't be a mistake either. Let me tell you.
It sounds excellent.
Yeah.
And, my brother-in-law will probably come down and he'll want to eat some of that. John, excellent drawings as always.
Thank you, Adrian.
Forward to more.
I can't wait to come
all
on
of the
again.
all the aperture that you use, those views to your eyes must be spectacular before you even put them to pen.
I'm overwhelmed by the photons, the connection of actually seeing it. That's the beauty of the hobby. You can never lose the connection of the actual photons and seeing it the way that people saw it when there was no electricity. And we have such great instruments today, and so many people that get it out to others, and it's a good time for astronomy. Very good time.
But before I leave, I just make mention, the night sky itself is the star. The images are
canvas.
The canvas. You're putting him almost the sort of the Bob Ross thing. He was a good painter, but what he painted were things that he just remembered seeing. So a lot of his paintings had very similar themes to them. The night sky provides the beauty. It's just in how we capture it. I think sometimes as astrophotographers, no matter what type of astrophotography we do, we have two choices. We can either try and make our images stand apart from others. It's the same image.
That's how I feel.
We make them stand apart. We draw more towards ourselves, or we can show the beauty the way that we see it, and we present it to people and say, this is what I see. Now, is it more than you can see naked eye? It might be. And in your case, though, John, you're seeing most of this naked eye because of your aperture.
It's amazing.
And we're presenting how amazing the night sky is and the objects in the night sky. There are people that looked at the JWST images and asked, is this real actual light? Well, yeah, it is. It's not centered around you. So you may not, realize that all of these wonderful things are out there. And that's one of the greatest thrills of doing astronomy. No matter how you present it, it takes people out of their everyday life. It may be centered around what you're doing, what you're planning on doing the next day. And you see something that's beautiful that you may not have had a part in making, but when you realize that we're made of star stuff, you realize that, well, there's elements in that are also in me. And then there's a connection. There's a connection to something. So
that's right.
It's the frequency. The frequency of everything vibrates in harmony. And when you see it and the photons are there and you're experiencing it, you become part of it. And there's a connection, and it's amazing what it's done for me. I mean, I don't even need to go to sleep. I'm so just wound up the next morning. And I get home and I unpack everything.
I meant those to be my words for the night. And I'm gonna sleep, but
it's probably made for you.
I know what it's like to be up all night. I've done that. I've stayed up through watching sunrise and was just giddy with excitement during that time when we had the planets all in a row.
Oh yeah,
I stayed up from 9 p.m. all the way through to 6 or 7 a.m. and I called myself getting up to go to work the next morning. It was already the next morning. So
we chased the planets into the daylight, and in the early morning, that good seeing it. And we're looking at the ice cap at almost 1,000 power on Mars. And I could, when it would snap in, you could see it was dry ice. It looked like Swiss cheese. There was a huge giant chunk that was out in front. And that's only for a split second of micro seeing with those binoviewers in the 28 and the most ultimate seeing. And
then the sun comes up a minute later. Yep.
Yeah, we're
that for those who are into astrophotography or into the process of getting images, what you're hearing described is it harkens back to actually seeing the object with your naked eyes. And in my opinion, there is no substitute for it. And even if you're looking through a smaller telescope, you're making direct eye contact with something that's millions of miles away. To see structure that far away. And then it blows your mind even more when you go to a dark site and you look up and you can see structure and color in the Milky Way, and that's 30,000 light years away, and you can see it as if it's just right there.
That's a time machine. You actually are
Yeah,
there as a look back in time.
30,000 years into the past, or light years into the past.
At the speed of light. How far is that? That is a long way away.
Yeah. Probably further than it is from wherever you are to LAX or to New Zealand, where the gentleman went, saw that wonderful sky in New Zealand, or from here to where Cesar is sitting on the balcony, getting ready to get some images in.
It looks like you can touch them when you bring them in that good, when they come in, and you just can keep reaching forever and ever, and you'll never quite get there, but it's just, you're almost there, so it's really a great thing. And I just love showing people, and that's what I'm missing is the summer. Cause then when everyone comes up, they all come running to the biggest scope, which sometimes isn't good.
What they're going to do.
That's why I'm glad Mirko got the bigger one, but mine's taller. So they still run at mine, but
large scopes are a big thing at those star parties. I would be wanting to look at it too. I mean, maybe wait
the
till
globs.
Everyone,
are unbelievable.
Globular clusters look beautiful. All right, well,
my 6-inch is extremely sharp. My Explorer,
depending on where you are.
That's my surgical scope for lunar and planetary work.
Okay.
I've had some amazing, and I'll be doing some sketches from those. So as soon as I can get some clear weather, I'm going to get them up and running. But thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Cesar, take care.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
I'm going to jump.
Yeah. And thank you to our audience. And, it's great to have all of you guys join with us together. I do want to let everyone know that we will not have a Global Star Party next Tuesday because it's Valentine's Day here in the United States and maybe elsewhere. So we're going to give a little break, and then we'll plan the 114th Global Star Party. So thanks again. And as Jack Horkheimer always used to say, keep looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Take care. That's Barth.
Here we go.
Have a safe trip.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you.